And we're live.
And we're live. And we are live. That's right. PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM is back. It is Thursday, January the 20th. Man, oh man, what a week. Every time Mav and I get together, it seems like each news cycle is bigger and bigger and bigger. Unbelievable. Gamers, welcome. One and all. Great to have you all here tonight. Man, oh man, oh man. Mav and I have been in the DMs. You guys don't get to see the behind the scenes stuff, right? So I just slid in to this chair literally like 3 minutes ago, okay? Coming home from work and literally just slid in here. But Mav and I have been back and forth in DMs. We got a lot to get down to. It started out negative 15 degrees here today. We got up to a high of -5. So that is cold. That's Fahrenheit for all of our all of our metric fans out there. That's Fahrenheit. So, but one thing I can say that is hot is the gaming industry right now. Oh, and there is no better place to be than right here talking with my brother from another, my co-host, Mav, aka Fun Speculation, king of this empire. Sir, I know you're under the weather. You're pulling through because you're so excited to talk about this stuff. Oh, yeah. You're just going to power through this. But man, how has your week been? What have you been doing outside of talking about acquisitions again?
Yeah.
And man, just in general, how's life?
Yeah, man. Kate finally is starting to get better from being sick. Now I started getting sick, you know. Been playing some games like Halo as usual. We got to hang out last night and play some, but also last week we played some Battlefield, which was fun too. So yeah, it's still been, you know, making the best out of things and having some fun, you know, keeping things positive. And I have to say I love the emojis my wife put in there for the channel. Also, hey Darren, thank you for joining the Speculators as well. I want to give you a shout out.
Welcome, Darren. Welcome.
Yeah, man.
Over in the UK. In the UK.
Yeah, man, it's been great, dude. What a week, you know, what a month. What a month. Like, it's insane. Like,
it is.
Just to be able to actually have somewhat of a platform where we can actually talk about this stuff too now. Like, who would have thought, like, when it started this channel and stuff, we'd be talking about such massive topics, stuff that's like never really happened at this scale before. You know what I mean? It's insane, dude. So I'm lucky that I'm getting to be here with you, and you got the captain's chair on this show, and we get to dive into this stuff, man, because this is one of my favorite things to do every week, is sit here with the encyclopedia of gaming dating back to the very first game ever created, the one and only Pong Soul, and discuss these topics and deep dive on them like nobody else does, really. Like, we kind of really go into the trenches on some of this stuff, right? So that's one thing that's I wanted to do on the show, and I know you wanted to do as well, and it kind of makes it a little bit unique, right? So man, we're gonna have a blast getting into this, dude, and I can't wait to have these talks. We got some more information even today.
Yeah, bro. I mean, again, well, we talked about this on Boom Show, right? When we did the special, and then we on Xbox Ultimate, you did a special on Tuesday night as well. We kind of talked about this as the dust settles. This, again, we all, I think, had a really hard time wrapping our heads around the size and scope of this deal, right? And we can sit down, and luckily enough, we get to sit and talk about it and kind of talk through it. And we get different perspectives from different people. And there's been a lot of that, right? There's been a lot of discourse out there this week. But as the dust settles, right? And we talked about this in Boom Show, we said, look, we've got weeks of content, maybe months of content coming out of this, not from a podcasting standpoint, just from the simple fact that this deal has so many layers to it, and it has so many ramifications overall across the industry that you kind of knew this was Zenimax is one thing, right? Zenimax was huge. We were all blown away by Zenimax, right? But when you really start to look at this, the big grand picture, the scheme of things, you start to see actually what this all means if this deal gets approved and goes through. And now, as the dust settles, we're only 2 days away from the announcement, and already we have more
More
information popping up direct from Phil himself, right? And we got some backstory to it as well that we didn't necessarily know Tuesday morning. So yeah, there's a lot to dive in here too, Mav. Look, first of all, shout outs to the chat. Everybody's showing up here. We're already over 30. You guys are all amazing. Everybody's doing shows this week. I personally have 8 shows this week, over my normal 5. So it is.
What else you got this week besides the norm?
I did 2 shows
you did 2
on Tuesday. Yeah. So I did one there, and then I did the extra one with you at Tuesday night, right? So that's 2 extra. And then tomorrow I'm on over on Risk It for the Biscuits.
Oh, yeah.
New podcast. Right. Xbox Infinite,
yeah.
Right before Xbox Ultimate. So so
nice.
So yeah, I know everybody's talking about this. Airwaves have been flooded. So I appreciate all of you. Me and Matt both do. All you gamers coming out and listening to us. And again, we're gonna look at some of the new information that comes out. We're gonna give you some of the general impressions you may have heard elsewhere as well. But we are really gonna try to look at this again as this dust settles. And the dust's gonna be settling on this for a very, very long time. This is not something that we're just going to have an endpoint to, even after close, even if it does close, right? We're not. This is going to be something that we continue to talk about down the road as well. But we're going to try to give you a different look at it. But first of all, chat, appreciate you all, gamers, for being here and supporting us each and every night. So again, Crazy Louie, I saw you took the shower, brother. I appreciate you being clean. You got the cologne on already.
Yeah.
Bro, that's what we love, man. Shout out to you. Otherwise, Psychonauts, brother, so good to see you as always, man. Can't wait for tomorrow night. Get you some of your thoughts, more thoughts on this, because you joined us Tuesday night as well. But I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are now that things are kind of settling down. Nightwolf 3186, always a pleasure that you are here. Valorian, great to see you. Siki, Matt Burns, Stuff Sean, Jasper, of course, is here. Caitlin, of course, is here. Thank you, Caitlin. You made some amazing emojis as always. You do wonderful work on the thumbnails. Appreciate you. You know that. Darren, again, glad to have you aboard. You reached out today on Twitter, told us that you had just recently found us, that you started listening. You're from the UK. Appreciate it, man. Awesome to have you on board this hype train here. Reign of the Third Eye, always around supporting channels. Great to see you. Chris Jones, of course, is in here. Infinity, who do we got? Infinity Doc, D-O-K. We'll go with that. D-O-K is here. Let's see.
Did you get the Smelly Wrestling Geek yet?
No, Smelly Wrestling Geek. One hell of a name.
Yes.
Look, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Stuff Sean.
Hey, yeah, I did get Stuff Sean. Tony Grasso is in the house, of course, brother. Great to see you, always supporting. I will never forget that name. All right. Artie M. Vic the Click, brother. Great to see you. The Fifth Horseman B is here. We've got Robert Hart is here. Look at all these awesome gamers just showing up, spending time with us. I think I got
our numbers are always real people, which I like.
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
it's nice.
I hope so, Mav. I hope so.
Yeah.
If we're doing this show some night and all of a sudden it jumps from, our usual 60 to 80, and all of a sudden we're at 3,000, I'm going to have questions for you after the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If we see that, the chat better be popping like crazy,
Right.
For sure.
So as everybody kind of gets settled in, of course, we are going to talk the big talk, but we're going to start off, Mav, with a little smaller topic. You and I and Caitlin and Steel Rain later on had the actual really great time of jumping into Rainbow Six Extraction, which dropped on Game Pass. So Mav and I had talked in DMs. We just kind of want to give everybody kind of our quick thoughts if you guys were on the fence about trying it out, even, the downloading of it. So we kind of want to give you our quick thoughts. So we played around for 4 hours last night or so, somewhere in that neighborhood. 3-4 hours.
I think
Mav streamed it.
It's like the stream was 4 hours 45 minutes, so 30 minutes of it was us waiting for you to get home from work, and then another 15 minutes of it was us waiting for you to finish the training.
Correct. As Mav was giving me a hard time. So if you want to get a good look at this game, please go check out Mav's stream of it. But here's the deal. We jumped in. We didn't have the biggest expectations. All of us were kind of in the same boat. This was not a game that we would have gone out and purchased day one for. I think all of us said, hey, it's Rainbow Six. It's, aliens, but it looks meh. It doesn't look the best. There's some cool things about it, but the minute it was jumping in the Game Pass, the minute they announced that deal, we all agreed, hey, we're going to check this thing out.
Yep.
And then the reviews came out yesterday. A lot of people got to play this game before it launched.
Yeah.
And most of them were, again, like,
it's okay.
got some good stuff.
Yeah.
It's got some not so good stuff. Whatever, right? So that's all we were hearing yesterday. So we all had it downloaded. We all jumped in last night. And Mav, like I said, we just wound up having, I can say, a great time playing it. It was more than what we expected. Go ahead, Mav. You start first. What are your general thoughts on Rainbow Six Extraction?
Well, first off, I want to say it was actually really different than I had anticipated, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting more of this traditional, just go through the level, do objectives, and then finish type thing, right? But this you have to use teamwork, you have to use communication, you have to plot ahead, you have to plan out your movements, you have to coordinate, and so it brings a different element to one of these style games that I haven't really experienced before. So for me, I couldn't imagine really playing it by myself or with randoms, right? But if I have a good squad of people, this is my favorite out of all of these PvE games so far, where I'm going through levels. Like Back 4 Blood, we had a blast, right? I really enjoyed that. Really liked the game.
Yeah, we did.
Aliens Fireteam Elite, really enjoyed that. Really liked the game. But I'm not thinking as much in those as I am in this one, right? So I'm we're not communicating, we're not having to plot out as much, it's more of hey, holy shit, here they come, everybody get ready, And this one is okay, we need to look into this next room to see what's in there and then figure our moves out. Okay, what are you going to do? Hey, let's board up this wall here. Let's do this before we activate this. There's a lot to that. And also with a lot of the mechanics as far as hey, your guys can actually get hurt and then you lose them. You got to wait for them to get healthy again. It's almost like some kind of XCOM stuff with that style, right? You have to go and save your guys at times that get MIA and stuff. Some really unique things. The skins look badass as well, I'll have to say. The gun skins and also the skins on the character. I mean, it plays like Rainbow Six, fundamentally, mechanics wise, with the way the guns feel, with the way the movement feels, with all of that stuff. But it's in a completely different way. So I'm actually really, really enjoying it, and I can't wait to dive back in as long as I have people to play with, right?
Right.
So that's the beauty of Game Pass here, right? So it's going to give more opportunities for that. And I know we'll be diving back in for sure. So what about you, man? What do you think?
Yeah. I guess I'll start out here. First of all, if anybody's curious, anybody wondering, would I pay $40 for it now that I played it? Yes, I would. I think it's a $40. I think it's a $40 game.
$60 game? Maybe not.
$60. No, yeah. I don't think it's a $60 game just in terms of content. There's a lot, but a lot of it, again, it's not a $60 full fleshed out game yet. Again, as they add stuff, could that value get up to that point? Sure, it could, but I would definitely pay 40. I definitely think it's worth, especially like Mav said, if you've got a group of people that you are going to play on a regular basis, this game has a lot to offer. Like Mav said, there's a lot of strategy involved, more so than you would think. It does play like Rainbow Six. However, with it being PvE, it does make you consider some other, you're not just so hyper focused on that, that group of operators and wondering where they're coming from. This one opens it up more. The levels are big. Some of them are very big, to the point where you're searching a lot, but you do have to pay attention. You have to be aware of your surroundings. Like Mav said, you get to points once you realize what mission you're doing, and what, depending on your objective, there's certain objectives where you do actually want to pre-plan out how you're going to barricade a certain area up to give you the best chance, right? And if you don't, or if you Rambo, like Mav started doing in the beginning, or if you get into a tight spot, look, it's game over. Like, they're going to mob you. These aliens are no joke.
They hit hard. It only takes a second to take down your health, and your health, like you can't really get it all back, even if you lose a lot. Even when you're done with that round, that guy's going to be MIA or not usable in the next level, right?
Right, and that's the other thing that caught me off guard, man, was the complexity as far as the game itself goes and the levels to it. So again, if you are down in a level and your team does not pull you out, your character is now in MIA status. You cannot use that operator in the next time. You have to go rescue that operator. Now, when this first happened, we were all like, I had seen ACG's review, so I kind of knew about it, but then we started thinking about it. We're like, what if all your team goes MIA and you got no operator?
Right.
Well, what they did is you can only have one operator that's MIA at a time. Right. So you just lose the experience. However, your characters, like Mav was just saying, you can't gain back your health. You can only, okay, let me explain myself. During the actual missions, right, you get boosters, you get med packs. There's a dock operator who can, obviously beef you up. You get a boost to your health, but it's only temporary, right? So you can lose that down. And if you, like, let's say you extract out, you lose that boost and whatever your health. So if you're at 26 and you got boosted to 75, if you extract out, your character's actually at 26 health again, back at the home main menu. Then that character goes into injured reserve status. And you can't use that person because they're too injured. I think it's at 50. I think it's at below 50. They go into injured reserve status.
People that are familiar with tactics style games like XCOM and stuff are familiar with this kind of mechanic.
Correct. And that's where the mix comes in, right? With the Rainbow Six, and you got all these other little aspects to it, like Mav was talking about. So this makes it even more of a strategy type game, because you do have to be aware of that. And then after you complete a level or 2 levels or 3 levels, each level is made up of 3 different missions. You can extract at any point that you want to. So it's risk versus reward is basically what it comes down to. However well you do during that run determines how much hit points your injured players get back in between rounds. So that makes a big deal as well. Like Mav said, customization is off the charts. Ubisoft is always good with the customization. They want you to spend your money, and they do a good job here. When Steel jumped in, look, anybody who's heard Steel talk about games, Steel is all about fashion in video games. That man will spend money on fashion. Okay. He needs his characters looking silky. Okay. And if they aren't, he's not happy. Okay. So the minute he jumped in and started looking at the skins and stuff, he's like, look at, they're good
skins.
Yeah. He's like, Ubisoft about to get me. So, Steel, when Steel says that, it's looking good. They got a ton of great skins in there. There's just a lot more to this game. So I'm actually really excited that it dropped in Game Pass. I think, as we talked about, that this was a great win-win situation for both Xbox and for Ubisoft. This game did not have the hype levels it needed to survive on its own. This is going to give it more visibility. And from what I've seen on Twitter today, I've seen overwhelmingly the people that tried it actually came out like Mav, Caitlin, and Steel saying, you know what, this is actually a pretty fun
especially
game.
If you get past, like, when we were learning, it was a shit show. I mean, we had no idea what the hell we were doing. Like, we were dying, getting hit left and right. And once you kind of learn how all the systems go, what you need to look out for, the enemy types, all that kind of stuff, it just really starts coming together, right?
Yeah, and the variety of missions is excellent. And then you've got your main objectives, your main 3 objectives that you got to do, but you also have another level, how you kind of level up. You level up through experience, but then there's also a secondary level where you have to do submissions like kill 15 of X enemy, right? Or tag, 5 crates, or whatever the case may be. You have to complete those to, what's the level? What's that level called? I forget now, man. I forget what it's called. It's got a specific name to it. Anyways, that's what opens up the other areas for you.
Studies?
Like we start, studies. I think so,
Yeah.
something like that. So we started in New York, but you have to actually do those submissions to open up the next area, like San Francisco, right? So also the good news is if you, let's say your buddy is new to the game, and let's say that you've already opened up some other areas, he may not have access to that, but if you're team leader, you can bring him into those or her into those other areas as well. So it's not, there's no gatekeeping to it whatsoever. As far as levels go, you can bring lower level people in with you to those other missions. They just can't access them on their own, but they actually do get credit towards the completion, even if that area is locked for them. So again, great job by Ubisoft. Kind of out of, again, we knew this was all coming. This was a big deal. They were going to try to sell this for $60. They heard the criticism. They knocked it down to 40. Then they drop it in the Game Pass. Really good decisions on their part. I think this game could have some legs depending on how they move forward with it, because it's nothing that we haven't played before per se, but it's a combination of a couple different things when it comes to co-op multiplayer, PvE, that actually gives you the feeling of a really different experience from something that we've had recently, which is nice. And I think that's where we were all like, I mean, it's not like, oh my God, this is next gen. Oh my God. My mind's
it's
blowing.
nothing mind blowing.
It's not like that.
It's just an enjoyable, tactical experience, right?
Especially with friends. Because look, man, you go back and listen to that stream. Anybody goes back and listen to the stream, you're going to hear us most of the time on Mav's streams during regular games. We're BSing a ton.
Yeah.
Right. And we still BS. We still BS'd a little bit, but more so, we were talking about what was happening in the game and what our plans were and how we were going to handle this. That means a game is structured very well, right?
Well,
that
we
means
sounded like those Ubisoft, E3 things, like
the fake ones,
the actors they have. Yeah, that's what we sounded like. If you go back and listen to it, it's like, all right, I'm coming to your left, right
on your six. It's funny, but it kind of came out naturally. They're like I said, we got some great stories just from one run last night where it was like we had this plan. I'll cut this short because we do want to get an Activision Blizzard, but we had this one run last night where we had to we were rescuing somebody, right?
Yeah,
that was the rescue mission. We were rescuing somebody. We had to rescue a civilian. So I had the civilian on my back. I think I was carrying the civilian. And we were trying to get to the extraction point. Well, we came across this room with about 3 or 4 of the aliens wandering around inside of it, but they were right in the doorway. Right?
Yeah.
So there was no way we're going to be able to pass by them. And we were headed toward the extraction door straight ahead, and this door was off to the right. So we sat there, and there's stairs going down, and then outside, and then we were going to hit the extraction point. So we sat back. We're like, okay, how are we going to tackle this?
Yes.
Are we going to shoot them? Are we going to try to sneak by them? So I said, I got smoke grenades. I'll smoke, and then we'll sneak by them and head out to the extraction point. So we all got an agreement. I think it was Caitlin at the time, right? Yeah, it was you and Caitlin. And I had Caitlin and Mav go by me and start heading down towards the doorway. I'm throwing the smoke grenade, and I think it was Caitlin goes, oh no, there's more in front of us. Down the staircase, there was another group. Outside, there was a shit ton. So I throw the smoke grenade. Everybody's like, run for it. So we run. Mav and Caitlin are gunning down guys in front. Well, again, like Mav just said, there was a shit ton outside. I come outside. I've only got my pistol because I'm carrying a dude on my back. Caitlin and Mav are both down already. It was absolutely madness. But that just gives you an idea of what this game kind of makes you do. And again, I love that. It's another level. Yeah. It's not just a straight up chaotic shooter, first person shooter. It is something that is a thinking kind of game as well.
Yeah, and we realized like, okay, we didn't handle that properly. What we should have done is scouted ahead more, like see what's in front of us instead of just anticipating that it was going to be open, right?
Correct.
So yeah, it was, man, it's a great time. But looking forward to playing more of it.
Chris Jones. Well, let's be honest. Caitlin and Pong were in agreement. Mav ran in Leroy Jenkins style. No, he did that in the first times when we were playing.
Just the first level.
He went hot. So like I wasn't even expecting it. And all of a sudden, all you hear is gunfire. Aliens are alerting. Pods are starting to shoot out aliens left and right. I'm like, what happened? On my
head. I didn't know where it came from.
I'm like, what happened? Caitlin's like, Mav started shooting. And I'm like, oh, shocking. Shocking. I tell you. Oh God, but it was hilarious. So yeah, go check it out again. Bottom line, if you got Game Pass, for sure download it. Anybody out there who may not have Game Pass, if you've got somebody with Game Pass, I believe you can actually play it with them. I read
Yeah, I
somewhere.
think it's got like a friend pass.
Yeah, it's got like a buddy pass to it. So please go check it out. Again, don't dismiss it just because of how it showed and how it was kind of meh. Go try it for yourself. This is one of those games you want to try. It might not be for you, but give it a go. It is worth it. Like I said, it is worth it. It is definitely something good. So yeah, so that was Rainbow Six Extraction. So, all right, Matt.
Well, before we get on to this next topic,
Yeah,
let's get a couple of super chats real quick.
Go ahead.
Vic the Click hit us with a very generous $2 super chat. He says, "I was told the tutorial is pretty hard. It was only very hard for Pong."
Oh my God.
And Raina the Third Eye with the $5 super chat says, "I always look forward to PM in the PM." Well, we always look forward to hanging out with you guys. So I appreciate you all being here. All right, what do we got, Pong Soul?
Well, brother,
what happened this week?
If anybody in here, well, I mean, we got we did get the Lego Star Wars release date. Is that what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, can we talk about that? I mean, it's
April 2nd.
Previews.
Lego the Skywalker Saga, for anybody who doesn't know, got an official date today, April the 2nd. I'm calling it now. I think that's our April Game Pass game. We will have to wait and see, but I think it would be perfect. But no, that's not what we're here to talk about. So for anybody who may have been living underneath a rock, does not pay attention to the news, even the national news, because this is making national news headlines.
Wall Street Journal, NBC, CNBC, all that stuff.
So look, random Tuesday morning, right? January, what would have been the 18th, right? January the 18th.
A day that will live in infamy.
Xbox Wire comes out with a release from Phil himself announcing that Microsoft, I should say at this point, because he is now the head of CEO of Microsoft Gaming. So we can officially say Microsoft and it works. Microsoft is acquiring Activision Blizzard in its entirety. End of story. $68.7 billion, or as Little Ray informed us on Tuesday night. Shout out to CMBR, Little Ray, because of Activision Blizzard's cash on hand. This is actually closer to a $75 billion deal. Biggest in history. This is historic.
Yeah, Jasper says this is global news. Yeah, it is. It's global. Yeah,
it is.
Sure.
It is. Activision, obviously, the makers, publishers of Call of Duty. Whatever you think of Call of Duty, one of the biggest franchises in the history of video games. Period. End of story. Doesn't matter. Over 400 million players have played Call of Duty.
Yeah. Still not as big as Candy Crush.
Right? That's the other piece of this too. It's not just Activision Blizzard. King is also a part of that as well. Yeah. King being the biggest mobile game publisher in the world as well. Look, this can't be understated how gigantic this deal is. The ripple effect throughout the industry is just starting to be felt, and we can see it in this community here. If you are on Twitter, you've seen the discourse, all types, all sides, all different perspectives. Like, again, right, wrong, or indifferent. The Zenimax thing, again, was one thing. Bethesda was one thing. This is completely different. This is orders of magnitude bigger than that. Okay. So they announced that they were going to acquire. Now, this is going to be a long process. Again, shout out to CMBR, who was on our Tuesday show, Lil Ray. He works in the investment field for a living. He has worked on deals like this. Again, not to the size, of course, but he has worked on deals like this. He has seen the behind the scenes, kind of what goes on. He's got great information. Highly recommend you go back and watch that show if you want to get some early stuff on it. He talked about that. They said this could be, they expect this to be wrapped up by fiscal year 2023. People forget that fiscal years are different from regular years. What that means is fiscal year 2023 starts in July of this year and ends in June of 2023.
Almost a
So
whole year.
almost a whole year, but they
Yeah.
expect it somewhere in
Yeah.
there, right? And CMBR, Lil Ray, as we call him, he thinks that if the deal goes smoothly, without the regulatory pushback, that this could be completed this year, by the end of the year. And I've seen that now said elsewhere that it won't necessarily take the full time to get done. They're just saying sometime within there it will be.
Yeah, they said
Um,
by the end, which could be any time from
Yeah.
now and in between.
Correct. Phil stated that once the deal was done and closed, then we would be seeing games from Activision drop into Game Pass. He said as many games as we can will be in Game Pass, but he did say upon closure. So whether or not we see some early stuff, we'll find out soon enough, I'm sure. But again, overall, huge ramifications. So Mav, let's start here. Some people may not have watched Tuesday's show. Some people may not have seen Boom Show, so they might not have our general thoughts on this. We won't obviously have to go as long as we did on those shows, but just some of your general thoughts about this, Mav, when you first heard about it, because you actually didn't hear about it until a little bit after it happened, right? Caitlin had to tell you how it went down. Yeah. So just some of your general thoughts overall, and then we'll get down to nitty gritty.
First general thought was, nah, didn't happen. Second general thought, you got to be freaking kidding me. Third general thought is like, holy crap. Like, this is huge. This is bigger than any gaming news I can remember, right? I would say up there with Sega leaving the console business, right? For me, as an impact, right? Just personally, like Sega leaving the console business was such a massive thing. And I was like, oh no, that's not good. That really hurt. But this is like huge news in a different way. This is like Xbox cementing the future of the games industry, at least as far as where they're headed, where the industry is headed, where Activision Blizzard games are headed, and also making it clear that this is going to be a long-term investment for the company. That is everything they said about we're all in on gaming. 70 billion does not lie. This is the biggest acquisition in Microsoft history. One of the biggest companies in the world. This is the biggest acquisition in that company's history. And it was made with straight cash. $70 billion, at 68.7. It's insane. To think about, the other thing that immediately hit me was, wow, like, there's going to be so many more layers to this that we can't even comprehend right now. Because the Zenimax Bethesda thing was big, and that was 7 billion, right? That's 7.5, something like that. Yeah, this is almost 10 times that amount. And actually, if you point to the money that actually went to Activision Blizzard, that is 10 times the amount. This is 10 times bigger, right? Remember when everybody was like, "Hey, there's like the next move that they're making is bigger than Zenimax Bethesda," and it was like, okay, so we let's start looking at what companies are bigger than we even had that acquisition show that was kind of like the precursor to. PM and PM.
That's what PM and PM resulted because of that show.
And that was we talked about Take-Two, which was heavily rumored at the time, and a bunch of other things, right? And this one was like, don't really think they want to dip in that water because it's so big, and also with all the stuff that was going on with the company, right? But for them to go out and just do this it's like, it's insane. It's going to change the landscape of gaming forever. Because this is also PC gaming, mobile gaming, console gaming. It's not just Call of Duty, which is because of like a lot of the audience that we have, because a lot of the communities that we're part of. Call of Duty is the biggest name as far as all the games go that we're discussing. But when you talk about how big of the PC gaming community is with not only Call of Duty but all these Blizzard franchises and all of this stuff, and then you talk into the biggest mobile gaming company as well. I mean, this is getting a massive amount of stuff, and also creative talent. And we're gonna get into some of those comments in a little while when we're breaking down this interview, man. But it was just like, wow, this is a monumental moment that changes things forever. And what was your first impressions?
Yeah. So for me, I was getting ready for work. So I'd actually was off Twitter. I hadn't seen it hit instantaneously. I was getting ready to leave for work. I was actually supposed to be at the office by 8:30. I was gonna. I'd already told
Yeah.
Boom I wasn't able to do Xbox Factor Show. So I had just gotten done ready, letting the car warm up, getting my stuff together to walk out the door. So I pick up my phone. I'm like, all right, let's see what's going on. It's right around 8 o'clock. It is a Tuesday. This is
Yeah.
when announcements come out. People forget the night before we had a stealth drop of Danganronpa, which was a big Japanese title from Chumsoft, which I've been waiting for. So I was all excited about that. So I'm like, well, maybe they're going to talk about that. Maybe there's some other more stealth drops coming in. So I flip open Twitter, and all I see is wait.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm like, wait,
What?
Activision. I'm checking for the check marks, right, Mav, to make sure they're not fake accounts.
Yeah.
I'm like going, wait, what? And so then, of course, I went straight to Xbox, saw their official post, jumped on the wire. I instantly emailed my job and said, yeah, car problems. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to make it in this morning. Call the complete audible, as Boom likes to say. I knew Boom was going to be doing a show, so I just started getting ready. So I started reading through. I saw Activision Blizzard, and then again, you see it, and we talk about this stuff all the time now. So it's not like we're not prepared, but when you see it official, right? And this was one that, like you said, none of us could have guessed. I can go back to Boom's show when we were talking about the Activision Blizzard problems, all of the legal stuff coming out, the horrific, awful things coming out of Activision Blizzard. And I don't remember who it was, but somebody had said, do you think Microsoft Xbox would ever buy them? And I haven't gone back to the show yet, but I know what my basics are. I laughed and I said, no,
Yeah.
That's not their style. They don't take risks. They want companies who fit well with their culture.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't find a more opposite culture than what's at Activision Blizzard right now, right?
Yep.
And I think I laughed through it and I said, there's no way. And then I said, nope. I think I stopped myself and I said, I will never say never, because at some point the value is so good that you do it. And I think I said, I don't know what that is considering all the problems, but at some point I said, I think if the stock keeps dropping, at some point you do, just because of the value, period. Right.
Right.
And that's about as close as I ever got to even thinking about this actually happening. So again, seeing it in writing, seeing the official announcement from Xbox and reading through it and seeing $68.7 billion cash, right? In having that sink in, going, how much was Zenimax?
Yeah.
That's like almost 10 Zenimaxes, 9 Zenimaxes.
Like chump change. It's crazy. You know, that was so massive at the time. That was one of the biggest gaming deals ever done.
Right. And we just saw Zigna by Take-Two go for 12 just last week, right?
Yeah.
So that was huge. Everybody was like, mobile, 12 billion? What? Really?
Yeah.
Then to see this number, to see it all laid out, that they were getting everything. And then you start running through. And of course, the first thing that pops in your head is Call of Duty is now owned by Xbox. That
is the craziest thing.
That is one of the craziest. And again, I just swore off on Living Split Screen last week. I think it was last week. It was either last week or the week before. I swore off Call of Duty because I picked up the physical edition of Modern Warfare from GameStop. over the holidays on sale for like $5.
Right.
And I hadn't played. It's the last Modern Warfare that they just did. I hadn't played through the campaign. I want to play through the campaign. And of course, I was going to check out multiplayer because people are still playing it and talking about how good that one is versus Cold War. So I was like, all right, I'll check $5. I'll check it out. I spent over 4 hours trying to get that thing to install.
Really?
Okay? So no joke. I've got the whole story on living split screen. 4 hours and it still won't work. I uninstalled it. The disc is over on my shelf. It's done. And I swore off Call of Duty. I said, until they're done with this whole, I've got to have Warzone downloaded in order to play the campaign and to go play the multiplayer. I want nothing to do with Warzone. Until that fix and until they learn how to properly code things so that I don't have problems simply installing it on my Series X, I'm done with Call of Duty. So I just sworn off Call of Duty completely.
Right.
But and we all know Vanguard is nowhere near what usually Call of Duty is.
Yeah.
And yet it's still the #1 selling game on both Xbox and PlayStation.
Yep.
So again, as much as we talk about in this community, as much as we go, Call of Duty, it's done, it's on its way down. Yeah, it has gone downhill. It's still the #1 game in the freaking world. Okay. That now is owned by Xbox. That's when it just starts to boggle. And then you go, they own World of Warcraft. And again, World of Warcraft is on its way. It's out. It's been hemorrhaging subscribers left and right. They're all flocking to Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
However, it's still World of Warcraft.
Yep.
Okay. One of the biggest names.
How long has that been
created
popular?
on PC? Right. We're going on what, 15 years,
yeah,
20
like
years?
15.
Yeah, 15.
Something
yeah,
like
15,
that.
20 years. And you just start thinking about all the smaller stuff as well. Right. And it like I said, I was going on Boom's show because he had that special show in the morning, and I could not get my thoughts straight. Like I could not wrap my head around this. And I don't think I fully done it because a lot of the stuff that's come out today, again, those layers to this, like you said, Mav, has such severe implications for the entire industry in so many different ways, not just from a gaming aspect, right? Not just the gaming part of this, but this is the culmination of the consolidation that we have all seen coming that a lot of people ignored. But if you're listening to the right shows, we have been beating this drum for a long time. Before I even started podcasting, I was in chats before the new systems were out. In 2019, I was in chats when I first jumped in here, telling people in the chat, consolidation is coming. You could see it from a mile away if you look. But this size of consolidation, this size of a company joining with another company says a lot about where the industry's at in a couple different ways, and we'll get into that. But again, the ripple effects of this are going to be felt for 5, 10, maybe even 15, 20 years down the road. Like Phil said, this is not short-term play. This is another long play. Microsoft is all in. If you didn't believe Satya when he said it about 5 different times, you better believe him now. This gaming is a pillar of Microsoft
at the
Corporation.
Center of Microsoft.
At the center.
The future. Yeah.
And now, if you want to get a little peek into the future, go listen to and we'll talk a little bit about this, but go listen to the conference call that when they all talk about when Satya is on a conference call and Phil's there and Bobby Kotick, our favorite, is there, and they're announcing this deal. Satya, yes, he says gaming, but the bigger word is meta, #1, which I hate, but whatever. It is what it is. Metaverse. It's going to be around. Get used to it. This is the new hot word. But he says entertainment. Yeah. Entertainment as a whole, which, again, you've been listening to the right shows on Speculations channel, Boom's channel, a lot of these other ones. We've been telling people that's the next big consolidation is between the entertainment industry. You saw Disney do this to Fox, right? Disney bought up Fox for a little over 70 billion. I think it was 71 billion, right?
Yep.
Now we see Microsoft pick up Activision for 68.7 billion. Eventually, well, we've already started to see it, but we're going to see more and more of it. These two entertainment industries are coming together.
Yeah.
Movies,
Netflix
TVs,
started doing gaming.
Yep, Netflix is doing gaming now. Perfect example.
Yep.
You're going to see that next, right? So buckle up. Again, one of my favorite sayings, buckle up, because it's only getting started. But that says a lot. But my main point was the ripple effect that this is going to have on the industry as a whole is not going to be seen. The end ripples are going to be 10, 15, 20 years down the road from this deal. That's how big this deal is. This is a nuke ton, okay? And for it to be announced in January, when we still got a whole entire year to go, yeah, they have to by law, because again, this is a publicly traded company, so they only had so much time they could hide this. But they worked on this extremely quick, according to reports, and it got done in January. That sets the tone.
Yeah.
Again, Xbox, Microsoft is setting the tone. They are changing the rules. They are changing the field. They are changing everything about gaming and what we think of it going forward in terms of accessibility, in terms of scope. They're changing all of that, and we're seeing it before our eyes. That's why I love this industry. Yeah. So all that stuff popped in my head as I was going on Bloom's show. I was just like, this is why I jumped into this community and started doing this, because these are the type of moments that I saw, again, not specifically. Again, no, there's very few people. Shout out to the one dude on Twitter, Thomas. I forget his actual Twitter name that I found. He screenshotted himself and said, me, June 2020, predicted this. And he did. He put it on there, right? He had it out there in the universe. But nobody else really thought this was anything's possible. We always said that. Microsoft behind Xbox, anything is possible. There's nothing off the table. But because of all the legal issues, Activision didn't seem like a great fit.
Yep.
All right. So that was my general thoughts. So let's get down some nitty gritty here, man.
Well, I want to say,
go ahead.
Like, I want to take a second and,
go ahead.
For the people that were saying like Xbox is being, or Microsoft is being bullies, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, we want to jump into this.
I want to jump into this real quick, because that was one of the first reactions of, and I saw that from a couple different. And there's two sides to this. There was Microsoft's just bullying their way, right? Hostile takeover style, buying the industry, all this. Okay. Second thing is like, people say, well, there's no reason for anybody to be excited unless you're investing in Microsoft. Two takes that I saw across the internet that just pissed me off, right? I'm just going to say it. They just pissed me off, because there's a lot of reasons, first off, for people to be excited. Gamers can be excited for a lot of reasons, as well as subscribers to Game Pass. Like, is that called being invested in the Xbox ecosystem? Maybe it is, right? You're a subscriber to Game Pass. Owners of Xbox, owners of PCs, owners of mobile devices. Lots of reasons for people to be excited about this. And that's not even going into some of the stuff we're going to talk about later when we're going through this interview. That even is the biggest reason why gamers should be excited about this. But the other thing about bullying and hostile takeover style, how this deal came together, according to the reports out there, is, with first off reported by the Wall Street Journal back in November that they were going to, Activision Blizzard was going to be potentially susceptible to a takeover because of the massive stocks dropping, right? Which is what Pong was alluding to. Like, if it got such a good price, maybe.
Correct.
Then reports came out that Tencent approached potentially buying Activision Blizzard. And at that point, what does Activision Blizzard do? They call Microsoft. The reports are that Activision Blizzard called Microsoft
after calling Meta.
After calling Meta.
They called Facebook. I hate that name. But anyways, after they called Facebook first and engaged interest there. Yep.
So this was going to happen. Okay. Bobby Kotick, one way or another, was going to get his payday. Okay. So Microsoft's not the villain there for giving it to him. Okay. Number two, out of all the different scenarios you could put out there, and shout out to Fuzzy, a good friend of ours, and also on Fun Speculation podcast on Saturday. put a vote out there, a poll, and says, okay, for everybody saying you didn't want Microsoft to purchase Activision Blizzard, here's your alternatives, and he put all the reasonable alternatives that were available, and says vote on it and tell me why. Nobody could give a reason why any of the other options would be potentially good at all. And this is another reason for people to be happy about this, because out of all of the options, this is the best case scenario. And anybody saying that it's not really has to look at, are they just being anti-Xbox, anti-Microsoft at that point? You know what I mean? So anyway, that's all I got.
Okay. Well, you open the can of worms. Okay.
Yep.
So let's look at this, because you bring up some great points, man.
Yep.
Like I said, there's a lot of discourse. There's a lot of angles to that discourse. Some of them genuine. Obviously, the circus is in town, as we all know. So you don't get the genuine ones from them, but we'll just ignore them for now. But let's say the genuine ones that are honestly concerned and honestly saying that Microsoft is bullying. You just laid out exactly what the reports are has happened. Right. We won't know for sure that it happened
100%.
that
These
way. However,
could be wrong, but just using what the information that's out there.
Right. Information. So let's just assume that they're correct. Okay. Like you just pointed out, Mav, all these people that have these, again, I think good intentions, because no, from a personal standpoint, do I want to see a monopoly of one company owning all the IP in the video game industry and making all decisions for us as gamers? No. I never want to see that. We're not even close to that.
No.
So I think they're a little bit off their rocker when they start with that stuff already. But even if they just want to say they're generally concerned that this is headed towards a monopoly. Okay. And this can't happen. As Mav just pointed out, what's the alternatives? I saw a lot of people saying, well, somebody else could have picked them up. List off the companies that have enough money to afford $68.7 billion. Please, by all means, give me a list. You know what list you're going to come up with? The same one Mav just pointed out. Amazon, Google, Facebook, Tencent. And there's probably a couple companies that could raise the capital if they needed to do it. But is anybody going to put themselves into debt to buy a troubled company like Activision Blizzard? No, there's not. That's going to remove even more. So really, you've got 4 players plus Microsoft makes 5. Okay. Out of those 5, who right now looks to be the greatest steward for the industry to handle the IP appropriately, to continue and maybe even, as I called it, this is a house flip completely. They're going to have to go in and remake Activision Blizzard when this is all said and done.
Yep, 100%.
You're going to have your core talent, but the morale, even with the boost from a new owner like Microsoft is going to have, the morale is still an all-time low. They're still hemorrhaging employees outside of the people that they're firing left and right now for all the past problems and all the past horrendous activities that were going on there. There's a talent problem there. People have been talking about that. You're going to get rid of the head, which is fan-freaking-tastic. Yes, he gets his golden parachute. Yes, that's not right, but yes, that's the way business works. So be it. Bobby Kotick's gone. At the end of the day, that's all that freaking matters. Okay. There wasn't going to be criminal charges against him. Nobody was going to be able to pin anything on him to get him out of there forcibly. This was something that was going to happen this way. Okay. As much as we all would have liked to see it happen differently, it wasn't going to go down that way. Okay. The guy insulated himself way too much. All right. He's a weasel. He's a snake. Okay. That wasn't going to happen. So the only way that this happens is somebody like Microsoft walking in, cleaning house, and rebuilding from scratch the legacy of Activision Blizzard.
Yeah. And do you think it was a coincidence the day before this was announced that there was another big wave of layoffs of some of the troubled people?
No. That was part of it. Guaranteed that was a part of it. There's going to be more as a lead up to this deal closing, because as you already saw, you've got now congressmen are already speaking out on it.
Yeah.
Look, again, people don't realize how gigantic this purchase is. Like, it really is that big. It's all across national news. But again, just the can of worms you're open, man, for all the people out there that have all these great these great ideals and this great philosophy. Well, it didn't have to be Microsoft. I don't want all this power to be consolidated into one or two or three companies where all the big fish get to swim and nobody else gets to swim. Again, that's a great concept. And if in a perfect world, I'd love all of them to come together and say, I love Sony, Nintendo, Xbox, PC, all to come together and say, hey, we're just going to make one console that you all have to buy. And then we're all just going to be publishers and we're going to publish on that one console. And you can get any game you want on that one console. I would love that in a perfect world.
Or multiple consoles just with everything options. You know what I mean? Like
business, right. Business doesn't work that way. And again, if that's where I think some of this comes into play, Mav, like you said, that there are some people out there with biases. And well, every human being has a bias. Okay. Period. We all have our biases. Okay. End of story. It's human nature. Okay. We're going to have those. Point being is when some of these journalists, some of these higher positioned people speak out on this stuff, it's more than just a gaming bias. A lot of them have different philosophies, whether it's political, whether it's economical. They have a lot of different things that go into those thoughts because there's a lot of anti-capitalism that goes into this as well. And again, that's a whole different topic for a whole different podcast. But the ideas behind it, when they think about this gigantic megacorp owning everything in one of their favorite hobbies, is so scary to them. And I get it. I understand that. That's a conversation. But we do have rules and laws in place that prevent that. And we're nowhere near close. That's the other part of this, is that people still have this. A lot of these people are older gamers like me. A lot of these people saying this stuff are in their 40s and above. A lot of us still have the mental picture of the gaming industry as the old Nintendo Sega days, right? When you look at it compared to now, how small that market was, we still see it that way. This market is so gigantic. This industry is so gigantic that literally Microsoft could go buy they could go buy, again, there would be questions. It probably would get turned down just because people would really have eyebrows raised, but they could probably go buy Ubisoft. They could probably go buy EA. And they could probably go buy a couple Japanese publishers before you really started getting close to monopoly. Okay. That's how much it would take at this point, because this industry is so gigantic right now. And I also look at it from this standpoint too. This is the ebb and flow of any industry. It's not just gaming. There's going to be contraction at points, right? And then there's going to be consolidation at points, right? This industry has grown so big, especially over the past 2 years with the pandemic going on, that this was inevitable. That at some point, and again, Bobby came out and he's done some interviews now too, and he was talking about it. And yes, Bobby is a complete a-hole, okay? But I bring him up because he does know the inner workings, and not everything he says is a lie. And when he's talking about this acquisition, he's talking about how they were having a hard time seeing their way forward with these gigantic franchises like Call of Duty. And how they were going to make that in the future work with the costs involved. And like I said, they've been hemorrhaging talent dev-wise. He and the board and the investors all saw the end where Activision would collapse upon itself with its own weight. Okay. They were getting too big and they didn't know how to handle it. And they didn't know how they were going to work in the future with streaming and all that kind of stuff and all these subscription services, et cetera. They could not see their future forward. So they needed somebody like Microsoft to do this. And now again, Bobby Kotick's, he's gone. Okay. We already, that's pretty much confirmed at this point. Again, it all makes sense. There's no way Microsoft, Xbox would ever agree to this deal with all the work that they've done on their own image to allow Bobby Kotick to stay. He's done with when this closes. Okay, he gets his golden parachute, he goes away. That's the best case scenario. So from a human standpoint, this brings stability to a company that was slowly crumbling. And again, if it wasn't Microsoft, it was going to be somebody else. And the next person might not be like Microsoft. Next person might carve that company up completely, take the best of those IP, dump devs left and right, trim it down to fit it into its own place. Microsoft can absorb that entire company almost completely and not even blink an eye.
70 billion straight cash, homie.
Straight cash, 10,000, nearly 10,000 employees. All those people can now have a sigh of relief. The human aspect of this is the other part that people forget. I'm glad that some people have been saying, I don't like this, but this probably is best case scenario. That is an intelligent conversation I can have with somebody. I really don't like this thought, but at the end of the day, when you look at it from a human aspect, from what was happening within that corporation, something like this needed to go down, and it's going to save real people, good people who are just in the industry that they love. It's going to save them and their families from a lot of heartache, a lot of hardship potentially, if Activision crumbled around them or if the culture didn't change, all that kind of stuff. Because we've already seen a lot of we've got examples now. This is not the Microsoft of the 90s. This is Microsoft of 2020. This is the Xbox of now. And we've seen what they've done with other publishers and how happy the devs are seemingly. They've come out and said it themselves. So I can only go by what we're being told. We don't see people leaving left and right out of the devs.
And this is so prominent people that don't really BS, right? They're not the corporate yes men type guys, right? These are creators that are actually heads of these companies. A lot of them got the Tim Schafers, the Todd Howards, the guys
Tim Schafers, all those guys have come out and said nothing but good things. Man, we're gonna get into it, but again, as I said, this is a house flipping moment. This is Microsoft Xbox has a chance to be the hero. They have a chance to revitalize Activision Blizzard, bring back both of those companies to the prominence they once had, allow those dev teams that have been stagnant on Call of Duty, those dev teams that have been forced to pump out, according to some stories, content for like World of Warcraft that they knew themselves was terrible, but they had to get it out the door under the pressure of Bobby Kotick and the investors. That is all gone now. These people, and again, we always forget they're people. There's real people here, real good people. There was a lot of bad there, and they're cleaning house. There's a lot of awful people. There's a lot of good people that had no choice. They just don't have the option of picking up their family and moving somewhere. Those people are going to be able to get back to doing what they love. And a lot of those studios that never should have ever been put on Call of Duty as a support studio are now going to get back to what they did best. And we're going to talk about that later.
Oh, yes.
But again, just want people to start thinking about that. Again, we can all dream of a kumbaya, perfect utopian world where everything is free and we all just share in wealth and we're all just happy and everything else. We can all do that. I can dream that dream too. But the reality of the situation, that's not how this world works. The reality of the situation is this is business, big business, huge business, $70 billion business. Okay. And when you get back to reality, there was only so many options, and Microsoft at the end of the day was the best we could have ever hoped for taking over something like this, this project. So
not just Microsoft investors should be happy. Yeah. Not just gamers. Activision investors should be happy. Gamers have a right to be happy about this. You know what I mean? And even if you only play on PlayStation, we'll get into some reasons why. I think everybody should be happy about this. But Pong, you had shared me that interview. You want to get into that?
Yeah, we can certainly get down to that, man. You want to get into that? All right, let's get into it.
Whatever you want to do, man.
No, let's go. This is free flowing, man. I jumped in the seat 3 minutes before showtime. Let's go. This is how we do it. So I'll go anywhere. You just open up a can of worms. So I got all wrapped up in that. But yeah, let's get down. Let's get down.
This is exciting.
Yeah, this is exciting. So this is good stuff. This is almost as good. Man, this interview, the comments from Phil were almost as good as the Ubisoft comments about Splinter Cell when they did their own internal interview with those devs and they said everything right. Yeah. Like literally, I could not have written out this like Phil Spencer says he wants to do this. So anybody, okay.
It's insane. It's insane.
It is insane.
If you want to know why gamers have a right to be excited about this, this is coming from the newly named CEO of Microsoft Gaming.
Microsoft Gaming. Any doubts? Any doubts where Microsoft is at anymore? Any doubts? So for anybody that doesn't know, Phil sat down with the Washington Post. Gene Park did the interview. Anybody who doesn't follow Gene Park on Twitter, go do so. Awesome dude, puts out a lot of information, has some really good takes out there. Been around in the industry for a long time. Definitely respect the guy. Love his work. So go follow Gene Park if you're not already on Twitter. But this is from Gene Park today at 12:52 p.m. Eastern time. Phil sat down and had an interview. Let's just start down here at the good stuff. Let's just get right into it. They kind of
into the juicy stuff, the one that
let's get into the juicy stuff right out the gates, because we've covered the base, and all they kind of do is recap what went down, and they list off all the different IP and all that kind of stuff. So let's just jump down. In discussing some of the intellectual properties owned by Activision Blizzard, Spencer's excitement may have mirrored the enthusiasm of a StarCraft player noticing the long dormant franchise's logo in Microsoft's acquisition announcement. Do not dismiss that, people.
Yep.
Do not. StarCraft has been done and over with for a number of years. And when Microsoft put out this acquisition news, StarCraft was right up there. Do not underestimate that.
Any of these big franchises, really, for sure.
So, quote from Phil, I was looking at the IP list, and I mean, let's go. Let's go. He actually said this.
Gaming said, let's
go. Let's go.
This is
All
great.
right. This is great. Spencer said, King's Quest, Guitar Hero. I should know this, but I think they got Hexen. Yes, they've got Hexen, Phil. Yes, they've got Hexen. Hexen. Hey, you want to learn about Hexen? Go ask Jez about Hexen. I played some Hexen way back in the day. It is like Doom, but medieval. Okay. Magic. Think of it that way. Think of a Skyrim Doom. Okay.
Yeah.
With magic, maces, swords. Hexen is old school. It was built on the old id Tech engine.
Oh, which they happen to own.
Right. And this is, I should almost forgot. I should mention it was Raven that did it. Right. So again, Raven Studios, one of those support studios. Yeah, so it's so cool. So anyway, sorry, I don't want to get sidetracked, but again, this gets me so excited. So again, he said, I was looking at the IP list, and I mean, let's go. Spencer said, King's Quest, Guitar Hero. I should know this, but I think they got Hexen. It goes on to say Hexen is indeed an Activision Blizzard property with a cult hit first-person game using magic spells. And then it goes on to say, let me get through this part here real quick. I got some ads coming up. And then it goes on to talk about like Toys for Bob. Toys for Bob, one of the studios working under the Activision Blizzard banner, successfully launched games like Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, but was later folded into supporting Call of Duty games. Unbelievable. Spencer said the Xbox team will talk with developers about working on a variety of franchises from the Activision Blizzard vaults. Quote, we're hoping that we'll be able to work with them when the deal closes to make sure we have resources to work on franchises that I love from my childhood and that the teams really want to get.
It said I loved. It's like he spent $70 billion to bring back franchises that he loved as a kid.
This is personal.
This is great. It is.
There's a personal I said this in the DMs. I was talking to some other people too. And I said, look, I think I was talking to PTK Blam, and PTK, we were going back and forth, and I said, you read Spencer's other quotes about this, about the old IPs. This was like Zenimax was personal to him because they're all friends, right? Him and Todd go way back. They're all friends, like legit in real life, like attending kids' marriages and stuff, kind of friends, right? These are all friends. So that's the type of friendship. But when you hear Phil talking about these IPs, these old Activision IPs, there's another personal level to this deal as well. Like Phil sees the potential. Again, people, listen, this is why it's fantastic. And I know everybody in this chat does. I speak more to the ether, all the people that downplay all this stuff or say just crazy thing. This is why you want somebody like Phil Spencer as the CEO of a gaming division, a real gamer who has been playing games his entire life, just like you, and everybody else has been. He understands and he still gets excited because he is a gamer at heart. That's what's amazing. So, like I said, when he was looking at this deal with Activision, I can imagine that he knows what kind of shape Call of Duty is because he's a gamer. He understands. He understands that Activision is holding all this old IP that they're not doing anything with, of all these beloved franchises that he's going, I want to play those games. He's talking about bringing them back. So again, quote, we're hoping that we'll be able to work with them when the deal closes to make sure we have resources to work on franchises that I love from my childhood and that the teams really want to get. I'm looking forward to these conversations. I really think it's about adding resources and increasing capability. That sound like somebody who's going to start chopping heads as soon as the deal closes.
No, it probably sounds like what they did with all their other studios they acquired. Invest in them, grow them.
They're going to grow them. They're growing them. Spencer said he is concerned about tech companies unfamiliar. This one too. Yes. This one too. Spencer said he's concerned about tech companies unfamiliar with the gaming industry barging into the space, as opposed to the current experience competition against Nintendo and Sony. They have, quote, they have a long history in video games, he said. Nintendo's not going to do anything that damages gaming in the long run because that's the business they're in. Sony is the same, and I trust them. Valve's the same way. When I look at other big tech competitors for Microsoft, Google has search and Chrome. Amazon has shopping. Facebook has social. All these large-scale consumer businesses. The discussion we've had internally, where those things are important to other tech companies for how many consumers they reach, gaming can be that for us. Mav, there's some. Well, let's continue with the quote. Hold on, we'll get to that. Quote, I think we do have a unique point of view, which is not about how everything has to run on a single device or platform. That's been the real turning point for us, looking at gaming as a consumer opportunity, and that could have a similar impact on Microsoft that some of those scale consumer businesses do for the other big tech competitors. And it's been great to see the support we've had from the company and board. Okay.
There's a lot there to unpack.
There's a lot, and he goes on. There's actually some more in here too, but let's stop there. Let's just stop there for right now. Let's break these down. Some of these quotes here. Let's jump into the first one. I want your thoughts. Obviously, I think everybody understands. Look, Phil is all. We are 2 days from after the announcement.
Yep.
Phil is out here doing interviews. Now he did. To be fair, he did this with Zenimax as well. But there's a different energy here. Again, This is a totally different stratosphere when we're talking about this kind of deal. But when you listen to his quotes already 2 days later, and he's already looking at the list of IPs and saying, let's go. Let's go.
Yes.
Brother, what does this say to you, man? What is this? I mean, this is like a dream come true because we all sit back, right? And we all talk about what if, oh man, true crime, right? Hexen. Oh my God, they could bring back StarCraft. We all sit there and we all fantasize about that. A lot of times it doesn't happen. But brother, you hear Phil coming out 2 days after the deal's announced, talking about the games he loved as a kid. Go for it. Tell me what this tells you.
It reinvigorates my excitement because all my thoughts about what could possibly be the best case scenarios of this deal, he's laying it out already. He's laying it out already, bro. You know, he's like saying, well, this is what I want to do. Look, I'm just digging around. Like, I can't believe they got this. They got that. They got this. This is insane. We just spent $70 billion on this. Let's go. You know, like, it's insane. I mean, he's already listing off dream games that he has fond memories of. You know, like, and he mentions Guitar Hero, right? Like, that was, you know how big that was when it first came out? You know, it like took over the gaming industry. Like GameStop couldn't even keep up with the amount of guitars they took as trade-ins and stuff after everybody was done with it. They had like 100,000 guitars in the back room.
I want DJ Hero to come back. I still got DJ Hero upstairs. I've got DJ Hero still. I love that game.
There's so many different like aspects to this. It's like mind-blowing. And when he goes and he says wants to give resources to make these things a reality, you know, it's like there was another quote he made in this article, or maybe it was a different one, where he said when he said, I think it was with CNBC possibly, and he
Yeah.
said like the most thing he was excited about the most was the teams.
Yeah.
The teams.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have not only gotten all this IP, but you've gotten so much development talent to bring all of the IP to life.
Yep.
The talent. And that is a commodity that is very valuable, right? There's only so much of it. You can't just go out there and just replicate talent, right?
No.
There's only so much in the industry. Granted, there's a lot of upstarts and stuff and smaller studios and everything now, making it an easier time to develop games than ever before. But for all of these like employees, like 10,000 potentially plus 5,000 in Blizzard alone, just I mean, when you look through all the studios, Blizzard shows up as one, right? But it's like 9 different teams there. So imagine a development studio of 5,000, right? And what can you do with that? What can you do with those IPs if you support them properly, give them the right amount of time? They're not having to worry about those quarterly reports as much on like, okay, if we need to get this game out so we can get a return on investment, all this stuff, because they got so much more, right? This is going to be absolutely insane to see what they could potentially do. And Phil's already thinking that way. And you can see it. Right. And that's what was so promising to see. And again, about potentially investing in and growing in, applying resources. This is not the old Microsoft or one of these other big acquisitions in the past from one of these companies you acquire and then you pick apart and then you take what's good and leave everybody hanging dry. They're in this for the long haul. They're in this for those people. They're in this for the teams, right? And the teams that want to work on this stable of IP that they have sitting there. Because when you go back in Activision Blizzard's history, the amount of franchises and games that they have and they used to come out with is insane. But they've relegated.
Let's run through the list.
Let's run
through the list real quick.
Okay.
Let's run through this list. Okay. This is from Pure Xbox. It's been passed around. There's a bunch of people that have put this out, but this is 50 plus different Activision Blizzard games that could be heading to Game Pass. So this is just the ones kind of in that area. Let's talk about these. So 3D Ultra Mini Golf Adventures, Aces of the Galaxies, Lasket and Adventures, Assault Heroes 2, Blizzard Arcade Collection, every single Call of Duty. I'm not going to name them all. It's ridiculous. Carcassonne, which is a great puzzle game. Love that game back in the day. My kid used to play that. Commander's Attack, Crash Bandicoot. We got Diablo. We got Geometry Wars. We got Gin Rummy. We got Golf Tee It Up.
Gin Rummy. They own Gin Rummy.
Yeah, Gin Rummy. Gin Rummy. We got King's Quest. We got Overwatch. We got Prototype. We got Sekiro, which they published. Again, we know that whole deal. They don't own the IP. Shiftlings, Skylanders, Spyro, Switchball, Tony Hawk's Pro Skaters. Right?
Yeah.
We know that they worked on X-Men. Some of their studios worked on X-Men Legends, Wolverine Origins, Ultimate Alliance, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. That was all Raven, right? They've got Hexen. Yeah. They've got all this IP sitting in there, right? And Phil's already looking at that list. Like you said, Mav, he already is telling you that everything that, again, we talked on Tuesday, just like our initial thoughts and what this could mean. And I think every one of us to a T said, let those studios go. Unshackle those studios from Call of Duty and let them get back to what they were doing.
Yep.
Back in the day. And Phil is already signaling to everybody, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're going to do here. And he already knows as well that it's going to be a rebuilding process. A lot of those dev teams are named. They lost a lot of their original talent because of all the problems at Activision Blizzard. When he's saying about resources, he's talking about rebuilding. Like I said, this is the ultimate house flipper here. They're going to go in and redo everything. That means bringing back some of the talent.
Yeah. This is another thing. I think like this is different than the Zenimax Bethesda where they're really hands off. You know what I mean?
Right.
This one,
right. No.
they're gonna be really hands on with this.
Yes.
With this one. You know what I mean?
Yes. This is going to be a tear down from the inside and a rebuilding, right? And that's exactly what's going to be happening. A lot of tear down is going to happen prior to the close of this. Again, I think there's definitely been some talks when they were talking about the acquisition, because of the regulatory stuff that they're going to have to go through, the reviews and all that kind of stuff. There's going to be a lot of questions asked about what's going on inside Activision Blizzard right now, how Microsoft Xbox is going to handle the ongoing lawsuits. There's talk about unionization over there as well. So again, yes, this is going to be a full tear down and rebuild, and Phil is aware of that. Again, this wasn't like by surprise. They weren't in the middle of this purchase and all of a sudden this stuff came out. They purchased a bad place, right? They purchased a home that was falling apart.
Yeah.
They know what they got to do to fix it up. And Phil knows what it's going to take. But the point being is, again, somebody else were to come in, they might rip out all the really rotted parts and just keep whatever good they could find. And there'd be a lot of people out there looking for jobs. Phil ain't talking about that. Phil's talking about taking these teams and expanding these teams, as Mav said, they've done with all the other acquisitions they've made. Every single studio that they've acquired is currently still hiring and has been hiring basically since the time they got underneath Xbox's umbrella. Talent is one of, if not the most precious resource in this industry right now. There is not enough talent to go around for what's being built and made for us gamers. That says something. And Phil's going to try to bring people back. I don't remember what show I said on it. Was it Booms or Xbox Ultimate on Tuesday? A lot of almost the entire StarCraft team left when they shut down StarCraft and said, we're not making StarCraft anymore.
Yeah.
They've all gone and done other things. Who knows where they are right now? Probably can all look them up on LinkedIn and find out where they're all at. Don't tell me for a minute that if Microsoft, Xbox, Phil comes out and says, guess what? We're firing back up StarCraft. We're going to have a new StarCraft come out. Don't tell me for not for 1 second that there's going to be a lot of those people that originally created StarCraft, that's their baby, are going to be finding their way back underneath. That's going to happen. Phil's going to send the signals out. He's going to put up the magnets and try to attract that talent back into this, saying, look, we know what happened in the past, but it's all different now. But again, Phil already getting excited, like the gamer that he is, for all these different titles. Again, I've mentioned it, True Crime. Bring back True Crime.
Yep.
True Crime was freaking amazing. It was Grand Theft Auto as a cop. Okay. They copied Grand Theft Auto. Go watch the videos for you people who didn't play it back in the PS2 era. Go watch it. It looks like Grand Theft Auto. You could convince somebody it's Grand Theft Auto. That's how close it looks. Bring back True Crime. You got a hit on your hands, guaranteed, if you do it right. Guaranteed. There's so much potential, and that's what Phil is seeing right here, right now. And that's why he goes, "Let's go, let's go."
Yep.
Just, I'm excited now, because everything that we were talking about and kind of suggesting and kind of, in speculation town about what could happen, Phil's already starting to signal that that's exactly what's going to happen. Right?
Yeah.
That's exactly where he's going to go and what he's thinking about doing. Any more thoughts on that portion of it, Matt?
Just excitement, man. It's like, I mean, really, that's what everybody needs and wants to hear right now,
Right.
And instead of one of his like regular interviews where he's like, talking to just really like correctly about the financial stuff and about hands off, like just kind of real formal. This was like him showing his actual excitement for it, right? And that's why I love this interview the most out of everything he's done so far, and his tweet that he made later in the day.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because that's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Second part of this interview where he talks about not trusting other tech companies to come into this industry.
Yeah.
And basically know what they're doing, right? He
Yep.
trusts Nintendo, he trusts Sony because this is their industry along with Xbox, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't want other tech companies coming in. Man, that goes back to what we're always talking about, what we just were talking about.
Yep.
Who else do you want to do something like this? Does that shock you that he just came out and said it?
Yeah.
I don't want
It's
other
like
tech companies
he's trying to play
coming in.
he's trying to play defense against those companies a little bit, right? And like he knows, as far as gaming wise, what they're comfortable with as their competition, right?
Correct.
But if an Amazon, Google, one of these other companies really comes in and starts buying up all these publishers and IP, there's no telling what they're going to do or what's going to happen, because they don't have the expertise, the experience, the development expertise, or any of this, and they've already struggled with even managing the small amount that they're dealing with now, right after massive investments still. But they,
Yep.
if they go out and acquire these things like this, who knows? So I think part of it again is a personal thing with he's trying to play defense against some of that, and wants to keep his competition as far as the gaming space wise, what they're already familiar with and accept, right? And also are comfortable with, because they each have a place, right? They each have a place that they've niched out for themselves. And then also the other aspect that was interesting is when he said, when he was talking about those other big tech giants and stuff and what they're good at, right?
Yeah.
And he said that can be what gaming is to Microsoft, right? That the way of reaching people, right? Besides just what they always have been, the known as the Office company, the productivity company, the Windows company, the PC software company, right?
Which has no personality, right?
Has no personality. It's boring.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of money. Makes a lot of money. But there's no
khakis and polo.
There's no
polos.
There's no excitement. I mean, hey, a new version of Excel came out. Let's go. Yeah, let's get into that.
No, if you look at that Power On documentary, man, people freaked out over Windows releases.
Yeah. Well, that's true. You're right. That's true.
That was crazy to see.
Back then, though, that was was so new.
Right. It was big time. It's funny though.
But now it's like, you're right though. It was funny. Like Windows 95, people flocking out to the stores,
stampede,
trampling each other, get that new Windows. But like this can be that exciting thing for Microsoft to reach everybody, right? And it seems like Phil's really cemented this to Microsoft and proved his case for Microsoft to go in and make the largest transaction and acquisition in the company's history.
Right.
That is for a gaming company. So Microsoft no longer is just productivity company that also has Xbox, right? Yep. It's an entertainment company.
Correct.
Microsoft is an entertainment in the entertainment industry, right?
Wonder what that's going to look like in 5-10 years, man.
It's going to be interesting, right?
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be more than just gaming, I think. But gaming is their first step, and I think gaming is what they know they're good at and they're comfortable with, right? And I think that's what they are going to focus on, and where they know that they have their strengths and what they figured out by the teams that Phil has put in place, from the studios that they have, from the acquisitions that they've made. They've built something very unique in the industry. Mm-hmm. There's really nothing else like it, and it's going to be interesting to see where it all comes through. And the winner at the end of the day from this is twofold. Microsoft, yes, because they wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't in their best interest, right? But sometimes interests align, and the gamers can also win, right? So in this case, if you're a subscriber to Game Pass and you're comfortable with the subscription model, then you just got a lot of games that are going to be hitting your service over the next several years and going forward. And you're not going to be lacking of any kind of content. That's for sure. Right. Because this is a huge investment for Game Pass, right? And cloud gaming.
It goes beyond that. And I would even say threefold to your answer. If you include the devs and all the people devs, over at Activision Blizzard, I'd almost say it's a threefold. It's a win-win-win
for three,
all around. I'm not going to count Bobby Kotick as a win outside of him being gone. So that's a big win for the industry as a whole.
What the news would have been if Facebook had acquired Activision Blizzard. How would that news have gone down that day, right?
Well, guess what? That's the other part. Facebook would not have had anybody put in position to remove Bobby Kotick. They might have kept Bobby on for another 3 to 5 years while they figured out what they were doing.
Who are they going to put?
Right?
Like the
right.
Who made the Farmville?
Farmville.
I mean, they're going to put the creator of Farmville ahead of. Say okay. Also, news. Let's say the news came out. Tencent buys Activision Blizzard.
Right. Oh, Bobby's sticking around for that.
They
aren't going to replace him. They don't care.
And how would the reaction have been?
It would have been terrible.
Amazon, Google.
Yeah.
Right.
Guess what? You can only play Call of Duty on Luna.
Apple.
How would that have gone over?
Yeah. Apple, you play on your Apple TV devices or,
no. And when it comes down to it, there's just, again, people can have great ideas, and I'm all for discussions about how things could be different. And I understand that there's a point where this gets, not good for the consumers, for us gamers, right? There is a point where it does reach that, but we're not even close to that.
If so all the games out there are within one service, right?
Right. Exactly. One company controls all the major IP, right? And yes, Xbox now has a lot of IP. Okay, no doubt about it. But they won't come anywhere as close to controlling all the IP. Not even close. And again, there's going to be a lot of backfilling. And I would say on top of this too, Mav, like we focus heavily, obviously, on the console side of things and whatever else. And I probably should have said this in my kind of general statement about this deal, but I want everybody to kind of hear this. And a lot of people have been touching on this. I'm sure a lot of people in our chat right now have heard this already. This wasn't just about Xbox. This wasn't just about Game Pass. Okay. This deal included all 3 focus points that Phil has talked about. Game Pass, obviously. Xbox Game Pass, we'll combine them. PC, you get one of the biggest PC names in the world in Blizzard. Again, they're down. Doesn't mean they can't be rebuilt. Okay. You get your PC covered with Blizzard.
Still 5,000 employees there. It's going to make something.
Still 5,000. And then you get your mobile with King. Again, King's part of this. For anybody, again, who doesn't know King is, Candy Crush. That's all you got to know. Still bringing in $400 million.
Yep.
King is bigger than Zynga, which Take-Two purchased for $12 billion. King is bigger than that. Still, they are huge. They make a lot of games, but Candy Crush is the one everybody knows. It's the easiest one. So they covered all 3 aspects that they've talked about that they want to focus on. And this year specifically, starting last year in some interviews, Phil and everybody over at Microsoft was talking about PC and mobile. Guess what? One deal took care of not only PC and mobile, but also gave them a whole lot extra for the Xbox Game Pass side as well. This was the perfect storm that happened here.
Yep.
And it doesn't come along all the time. Their shares were over $100 last January. We're talking about Activision Blizzard. They were over $100. They had dropped to 60, I think like $66, $67 at some point during all this controversy. Microsoft paid out, I think the number was it was $85 per share.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, for this buyout. So they met in the middle. This is a great deal. Xbox, Microsoft believes if they clean house, rebuild, this company's value is over that $100 share mark, right? Even though it doesn't matter anymore, but that's how you calculate that out. Yeah. They believe the future is worth more than $100 share when it was at its peak. So from Xbox, Microsoft standpoint, yeah, it's a lot of money. They got a heck of a deal at a time when this company was crumbling from within. And unfortunately, sometimes in business, that's the best time to take advantage. And again, it has to happen. Otherwise, one of those other companies comes in, takes over, and we don't know what happens, or nobody comes in and takes over and everything crumbles from within. And all of a sudden you got Activision as a dying company out there, one of the best, most well-respected at one point publishers in the world, along with Blizzard. They take Blizzard with them and they crumble into history.
Yeah.
And then what?
Kotick was driving that ship to the ground, right?
Correct.
So amazing.
Yeah. So again, Phil's out here doing interviews already. He's going to be very careful about what he says, because again, the regulatory review of this is going to be a lot different than the ZeniMax ones. Okay. Yeah. This is
Disney
on
Fox
again,
territory here. Right?
Yeah. Disney Fox territory. They might have to make some concessions, which happens in these, which means the deal gets finalized, it gets closed, it gets approved. However, the company agrees to do A, B, C to make that deal work, which usually means they give up something, right? There's going to be a lot to this. This is going to go on for a while. So we're going to have a lot of radio silence. But one of the things, Mav, that of course, parts of the discourse this week, major portion of the discourse this week, is just like the Zenimax deal. We are back to talking about exclusivity. Everybody's favorite conversation. Oh my God.
Exclusivity.
That's got to be one of your next songs.
Yeah, let's go.
What is Xbox going to do with, of course, it's centered around Call of Duty, as we all know. What is Xbox?
I just want to know, will they remove Candy Crush from mobile devices, and will it only be playable on console?
I like Meg's idea. Yes, I want to see it in Game Pass with achievements. Candy Crush.
Me too.
Let's go.
The other thing.
Let's go.
Okay, real quick before we get into this.
Let's go.
I want to say something about, Xbox always has that talk about 3 billion gamers out there, right? You don't get that just from the console space.
No.
So like getting into this mobile space, and not just in a big way, but the largest, is a huge deal, because if you're trying to approach a lot of people with your games, going and investing big time in the mobile space is the next step to that, right? So as far as a console primary gamer, I don't necessarily care about that, but you got to think about all those people that just play like Candy Crush on mobile and all that stuff, all the people that don't even consider themselves gamers, right? They just play those games, right, on their phones or on their PC. Like my mom did for years, sitting at her laptop with Candy Crush, just sitting there, just playing mindlessly while she's watching TV because she's retired, It's going to reach a lot of people, right?
Their plan.
And that's a huge thing that cannot be understated when you're talking about their long-term goal of reaching 3 billion gamers. Okay.
Right.
Pong.
All right.
Let's move on to this exclusivity.
All right. So exclusivity, before we get down to Phil's comment that happened tonight, quote that came out, appeared on Twitter a few hours ago while I was still at work. It's kind of just hitting big time now because it's pretty straightforward. Before we do that, Mav, first things first, chat, you are all amazing. The conversations in there have been great. Again, this is a conversation you probably heard from some other place this week. We appreciate you being here. We hope we're giving you some new information, some new insights, some different perspective on this matter. We appreciate all of you. Please, we have 70, 80 people in here. Please hit that like button and obviously share it out if you can. Mav is trying to grow this thing. He just went over 2,000. We got to get him to 10,000 before the end of the year. Let's make it a big one.
Whoa,
Let's make it a big goal.
Let's go.
Man, 10,000 by the end of the year. Let's go.
I need to buy some ads and put them on Candy Crush.
Let's see. Some people have jumped in here. Doom Reaper, it's great to see you. Noobs and noobs.
Brian,
and
what's
Pros
up,
Gaming, of course. What's going on? Great to see you in here. Dreadpool jumped in here. We got Micah Ford jumping in here. Cunny Funt is in here. Careful.
Don't accidentally
careful
say that
the
the wrong way.
Yeah, we don't want to say that one wrong. We're not gonna let Mav touch that one after Namkai Bando. Let's see here. We've got OCDgamer, UK Lad, Bernard Miller. Oh man, so many awesome new people have jumped in here. Only on Xbox, of course, is in the house. Tando is in the house. We've got Topaz Girl 170. Awesome to see you. Let's see who else. Anybody else new? Valorian is in here. Just trying to catch up. Polybaba is in here. Dango Fangi, you had a not good message, but thank you for dropping in. You count. So thanks for being here. Retro Nerd, Wilbo Gaggins. The list goes on and on. Thank you all for being here. Everybody who stopped in earlier that we named off as well. If I didn't catch you, I'm sorry, but thank you all for being here and listening to us on PM in the PM tonight. Appreciate every single one of you. So, Mav, as we were talking about, exclusivity is one of the major discourse talking points now. What is Xbox going to do when it comes to Call of Duty? Are they going to make it exclusive? Now, we got our initial thoughts out there.
Yep.
We talked about this on a couple different shows. Everybody kind of has done their thing, right? we've got ZeniMax as an example,
Yep.
obviously. And so we can take a lot from that. However, again, said this all show long, I will continue to say it. This deal is in a different stratosphere. Okay. This is not, you can't look at everything the same. Yes, Elder Scrolls is big, really big. Call of Duty is on a whole nother level. Okay. Just from a straight sales standpoint, just from a market reach standpoint, it's a different game. Okay. So there is some question here. Now, our initial thoughts, Mav, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were both the same on this one. If you had to pin us down, Warzone stays multi-plat. It's a living, breathing games of service type entity, much like Elder Scrolls Online, much like, Fallout 76, all those types of games. That stays multi-plat. But mainline Call of Duty games, after the contracts run out, again, that's always going to be a thing. Phil's going to honor those contracts. And we don't know how long those contracts are for. That's another thing people forget. We don't know how Sony could have signed a 5-year marketing deal extension with Activision last year, and that could guarantee them that they have Call of Duty because they're going to honor those contracts. Now, we don't know that. That's just I'm throwing it out there because we don't know any of that behind the scenes stuff. They're going to honor contracts, but we thought Warzone would stay multi-plat at the end of the contracts. All mainline Call of Duty games would go exclusive to Xbox Game Pass, wherever you can access Game Pass or the Xbox ecosystem, you could play Call of Duty mainline games. Am I correct in that, Mav? You were on the same line, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So, of course, there's been arguments. Absolutely not. They're not going to do that. We heard the same arguments. They got to make up their money. There's no way they're going to pull it from that many people. There's been the other argument. Microsoft, Xbox care less. They're going to make their money back anyways. They don't need Sony. They don't need PlayStation. Again, this is the #1 selling game on PlayStation. On the news of this acquisition, Sony stock, this is an overreaction because investors will always overreact up front, but Sony stock dropped 20 billion, right?
Billion. Yeah, $20 billion.
Yeah. $20 billion it went down just on this news alone. That's what Call of Duty means to Sony. And again, that's an overreaction. Okay, that's not a real true sense of things. Investors will always do that. But that does show how important it is. So that argument's been made. So what we're talking about here is Phil came out with some quotes, tweeted it out today. He tweeted it out at 3:15 p.m. Today. Phil said, had good calls this week with leaders at Sony. I confirmed our intent to honor all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of our industry and we value our relationship.
Yeah.
Yo, so Mav, look, 2 days, 2 days, Mav, after this announcement, Phil is already out here in public on Twitter. This wasn't like he went and interviewed somebody. He put this from his personal account.
Yeah.
On Twitter.
Do you think he's trying to save Sony's stock a little bit?
Well, we can get it. There's, again, this tweet by itself has been read. You can read this tweet.
Yeah.
Depending on your bias, depending on which way you want it to go, you can read it both ways.
Right.
Okay. There's a lot of play in this tweet. Yeah. Okay. And we've already seen it happen. Like there are people are saying, holy cow, Kumbaya Phil is back. Guess what? Sony people, don't worry. Call of Duty is going to stay. Hey, big sigh of relief. There's other people saying, no. This sounds like the same type of language he was using with Zenimax deal when he couldn't say anything until the deal's done. He had to play nicey and couldn't really say what he wanted to say. He's using that same type of language. So, Mav, give me your first impressions. What do you think about this? Where are you at with this?
So first off, I gotta ask you again. What did you say your position was and stuff again? On
Okay.
for the other day.
Okay. War after contracts are over with.
Yes.
Okay, whenever that is.
Yep.
After the contracts are done. Warzone stays multi-plat.
Right.
Mainline Call of Duty games go exclusive.
Right. Yeah. So we were on the same page. I just wanted to make sure I heard you right. Okay. So we were on the same page.
I had the caveat that after the contracts are done, they could, again, this is just looking into the crystal ball and thinking about Halo Infinite and what they've done with Halo. They could make a multiplayer free to play, a regular multiplayer, not talking about Battle Royale and Warzone. Yeah. Talk about regular multiplayer Call of Duty. They could make that portion of the game free to play and leave it cross-platform and then just do a campaign that's exclusive. They could go that route as well. But my main thinking was mainline Call of Duty goes exclusive after contracts are done. Warzone, everybody gets it.
Okay. So first off, I just did a quick Google search just to see like how big is Call of Duty, right? Like numbers wise. So this is back from April of 21. And now this does not include actual numbers as far as revenue. This is just sold copies. Okay. This doesn't include microtransactions, dollars. This doesn't include Warzone money or anything like this. This is just copies sold. The Call of Duty franchise is third overall in gaming history as a franchise, only behind Mario and Tetris in games sold, with 400 million. And that was before this last Call of Duty came out.
It's kind of big.
Vanguard, right?
Kind of big.
So it's pretty big. So Mario, I guess, is at 680 million as of April last year, and Tetris was at 495 million, right? It seems like every year there's some kind of new Tetris thing that comes out, right? From some different publisher, depending on who has the rights to it or whatever. But yeah, like, it's a big deal, man. So a lot weighs on this. You know, it is different than Zenimax Bethesda. But then it's like, what is it? What does this quote mean? Because like I was 100% with you on this. And, you know, you see all the Sony stuff, you know, and then he makes this tweet. So I have a couple of, I'm going to be honest. I keep going back and forth myself trying to decipher this tweet. Because part of me is like, well, he's putting this out there in the open public space. That's a big deal, right? To be out there public on his own account on Twitter, talking to gamers, right? For them to say the word Call of Duty, right, on PlayStation, and to see if that doesn't end up happening in the way that a lot of people are interpreting it, could have some major backlash towards him just because he's putting it out there himself. Right. So that's taking a big leap as far as putting this tweet out there. And then part of me is like, okay, you got to decipher the language of the tweet, just like you decipher the language of anything. Right. And it's like, okay, there's another aspect to this as well, because I remember reading the interview as well, either with CNBC or whatever. And they asked about Call of Duty and other franchises. And he mentioned that supporting, we have, long-standing partnerships with other platforms, and Activision Blizzard does, and we plan on supporting those communities. But he didn't say supporting those platforms. He said supporting those communities. So it's like interesting language all the time, like with these things, right? And in this one, he says, I confirmed our intent to honor all existing agreements upon acquisition, which nobody had any doubts they were going to do that, I don't think, because that's their MO. They don't necessarily even have to do that. They could bully their way through that, probably, if they wanted to. After closing of the deal, they could. It would be messy. It would not be a smart decision. However, that's not what they've done before in the past. Hence, Deathloop was a exclusive on PlayStation this past year. Ghostwire Tokyo will be an exclusive on PlayStation when it launches as well, just like contractual obligations, right? So we don't know how long in the future these Call of Duty contractual obligations go for, right? Because there's big partnership there between Activision and Sony for a long time. You know, this whole past generation, Call of Duty was seen as the place to play Call of Duty, right? So hence it's very important for PlayStation. But he says Sony is a important part of our industry and we value our relationship. And they have our desire. So that is going to be the word that everybody picks up on. The honor all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep, not our intent, not our commitment, our desire. So there's multiple ways this conversation could have gone. Yeah, we would really like to keep Call of Duty multi-platform on. We like to keep it on PlayStations going forward for every release, but you got to give us something, right? Like, are they going to bully their way and strong arm some other deals, maybe easing up on their deals they're doing with other companies? Like, who knows exactly where this could go? But they got a huge chip here, right, with Call of Duty. That puts them in a very strong position because of Call of Duty's value to PlayStation. So who knows what the word desire means and what intent comes back from the other side with using that word. And it's just very vague right now. So again, putting that tweet out there is like, hey, you're kind of getting a little messy if you do not end up going that direction in the future. But also, it's not saying an intent or commitment, it's just saying that you want to, right? So where does that go? And it's going to be a very interesting 2023, right? And 2024. And I want to know more about these Call of Duty contracts as well, right? I want to know how long they go for. And now this is also the other caveat to all of this. We're all thinking of this in the usual annual Call of Duty release. That may not be a thing in the future, right? Raven may be pulled off. They may only be put on Warzone. Who knows exactly? Like Treyarch, Sledgehammer, Raven, they may not see Call of Duty as going to be that yearly release anymore because they want to give more time, make a better quality product, have things actually work, an investment on quality, and all these kind of things that's kind of been spiraling downhill the last few years, right? Mm-hmm. And so what does that mean? Are they going to change how Call of Duty games are developed and the time it takes to make a quality Call of Duty game and when the releases are? Maintaining support of Warzone on all platforms, which I think everybody can agree with that. So yes, Call of Duty, regardless, will be on PlayStation, at least in the form of Warzone. Right? So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, man. It's really honestly too early for me to make a 100% prediction on this and really have a lot of confidence on it, because I think a lot of it depends on the regulators, the contracts that are in place, and also Sony and what they potentially may be doing. Because I think there is going to be a lot of discussions back and forth between those companies and trying to come to an agreement. We all know Phil would love to have Game Pass on PlayStation, right? That's the ultimate dream.
Of course.
Right?
Absolutely.
Does PlayStation 100%. Want that? No. But do they want Call of Duty? Absolutely. So we're going to see where all this goes and how they can work out all these deals, man. But like, where are you at right now? I just can't 100% commit to anything right now because there's just not enough information,
No, I completely understand that too, because I keep going back and forth on this as well. First of all, shout out to Fonzarelli Gaming for showing up. Fonz, awesome to see you, brother.
Yeah,
great for dropping by, man. Silent Cypher, Shizno Elite, and who else jumped in here?
Lil Ray Ray's here.
Lil Ray Ray's in here. La Hellboy's in here. Lil Ray Ray brought up something interesting, which I'm going to jump into because this was my exact thought. In fact, I had put this in some DMs at some point today as well. First things first, another little twist to this, Mav, when it comes to the actual regulatory DOJ looking at this.
Yeah.
It's come out that the actual antitrust chief of the DOJ is Jonathan Cantor, who used to work for Microsoft.
Oh, really?
So he might have to recuse himself. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So this
But
is going to
what
be.
happened like in the Zenimax Bethesda deal? Is that was he not at that position at the time, or?
I don't know what happened at that point. I have to go back and look at that, but that's the news hitting the wires right now. Is that might be a big giant issue for this? So it's going to be really interesting. But CMBR brought it up, and I had thought about this. First of all, this tweet was put out on Phil's personal Twitter, like we talked about. Okay. But when Phil does this, again, he's not just speaking to gamers. Twitter is now, for better or for worse, a centralization of news, right? And journalists take from Twitter as well. It's the quickest and easiest way to reach hundreds of millions of people at one time, if not billions. I don't know if they're over billions yet or not. But, anyways, it's the quickest way to reach people. And this statement by Phil, as CMBR said, would have been approved by the attorneys. Anything Phil says right now is going to be part of,
especially
the questioning
involving this deal, 100%.
Involving this deal. That's what I'm talking about. Anything that Phil says regarding Activision Blizzard at all is going to be scrutinized by the DOJ, right? In the investigation. All the tweets that he does, all the interviews that he do are going to be logged and filed as part of that investigation. Okay. So every single word is going to be approved by Microsoft attorneys, some of the best attorneys in the entire world. Okay. They are going to go over every single word and make sure that he does not say anything out of place that could potentially ruin this deal. And if there's one company in the world who knows how the DOJ works and how to go through this process, it's Microsoft. Okay. They have been through the ringer with the DOJ.
So are you saying there's not much of a chance that we can get Phil Spencer in the next 18 months on Xbox Ultimate?
No.
Okay.
No,
I'm just checking.
I just don't think so. I think every interview is going to be pre-approved. Every questionnaire is going to be pre-approved.
Every answer is going to be pre-approved.
Every answer is going to be pre-approved from this point out, because again, any one wrong word could ruin the entire $70 billion deal. Okay. So I think that this tweet was on purpose because obviously the discourse is out there. Yes. But more importantly, it is for Sony. It is for Sony stockholders. It is for Microsoft stockholders. It is for all the important parties that are going to be involved. And again, the ripple effect of this deal goes well beyond just Microsoft and Activision. Again, this is Sony's number one selling game on their console. Their stock takes a $20 billion dip in overreaction, but still gigantic dip just off of this news. Phil right now is going to put out the signals that this is not a predatory move, because that's what they're going to be looking for when they go into this investigation. Is Microsoft bullying? Are they taking steps towards a monopoly? Again, my personal opinion, and I'm obviously not a freaking antitrust attorney. I'm not anybody, okay? But obviously I've seen deals like this go down through my 4 decades of being in this industry, not this size by any stretch of the imagination, but I've seen the ebb and flow of the industry. This industry is too big. This is not close to a monopoly. However, the DOJ could also be looking to set a precedence at this point for tech companies. Okay. And they could be setting a precedent as far as, hey, we let Disney and Fox go through, but that, they've already, the DOJ currently, for anybody who doesn't know, is going back and looking at all of their old deals that they approved. They're looking at everything right now. The Biden administration is changing how they approach these approvals right now as we speak. So this is going to be an interesting case. They could set the precedent and say, nah, what would have passed before is not going to pass now. Even if everybody else disagrees that it's not even close to monopoly, we're going to start setting boundaries, right? So Phil is going to be very, very careful. He's going to set up the appearance that, hey, we're not coming into this to take anything away from anybody. We're not coming in for this to try to bully Sony into, any kind of situation that we're forcing them to do something that they don't want to do, like put Game Pass on PlayStation. He's going to be very specific with his words. The attorneys are going to be very specific with their words, I probably should say. and it's going to come off as, hey, no, this is just good for the industry. We're all in this together. Kumbaya, Phil is here. We're going to hold hands around the bonfire. We're going to sing songs. This is good stuff, right? This is good stuff for all of us. We're going to let Call of Duty be. Call of Duty's not going anywhere. Don't worry, guys. All of that is going to be in play. And I think that's one of the layers to what we just heard. Now, reading between the lines, the language is similar to the Zenimax stuff. There is some outs in that language specifically that he's using that down the road, they could come back when he says it's our intent. Well, he could, if this deal closes and down the road, the contract ends with Call of Duty, however many years that is with PlayStation, and they go to Sony and say, hey, we want to make a deal. We want to continue to have Call of Duty on your platform, but guess what you're going to have to allow? And Sony says, go take a flying leap. Well, then Phil can come back and say, hey, it was in our intention. We tried. Yeah. It was our intent to do this. Right?
We desired it greatly.
Right. We came with our hand out and Sony turned their back on us. Right. And he can, again, it leaves that opening in there. Here's the deal. As I thought about this more and more, it would make sense. Look, I've always said that as a business person, if I was in Phil's position, I'd be cutthroat. Okay. I'd go for the jugular. No, not to put Sony out of business because that's not good for anybody. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about, hey, you want to keep buying up all these exclusivity deals. You want to keep holding stuff from our platform, the Street Fighters, the Final Fantasies. You want to keep doing this nonsense. We can keep doing that nonsense. I'm going to take Call of Duty, your biggest selling game, and we're going to take our ball and go play on our own field, and you can see how you deal with that. Okay. Mm-hmm. I would be cutthroat from that standpoint, but I think it would make a lot of sense to let Call of Duty. And it could be a concession that's actually written into the regulatory ruling too. So don't forget that. This could be one of the concessions that Xbox agrees to leave Call of Duty multi-platform, right? That certainly could be part of this. It would make sense for them to do that. And then Phil in the background is looking at all his old IP and he says, okay, Call of Duty is no longer an annual Call of Duty, like you were just talking about. Call of Duty is going to take a couple of years off. We're going to have Infinity Ward be the sole studio on Call of Duty. And if it takes them 2-3 years to come out with new Call of Duty, with that, let them take 2-3 years.
They're already working on 3-year dev cycles, right? So
right, exactly. So that's cool. Not a problem. We're going to go that route. We're going to go that's fine with us. We're going to continue to support Warzone. Warzone is still bringing in tons of money. Let's assume Warzone is still crushing it. We're updating Warzone. We're making it even better than it was under the old Activision Blizzard. Warzone is still rocking and rolling. So everybody's streaming war. We're satisfied with that. Call of Duty is going to become a biannual kind of game, maybe even 3 years, 4 years out. That's okay with us. That's what we're going to do. Well, at that point, you pull the power away. And even though Sony still gets it, it's only going to be once every, in a normal cycle. It's not going to be the yearly funnel of money that they can count on. So you basically establish the same thing. But in the meantime, you pull off all those other great devs, you get them built up, and suddenly they're going and reactivating all the old Activision IP.
Making Xbox
all
exclusives.
Of that. All of that is exclusive. Right. All of that is exclusive.
Pitfall.
Right?
Answer to
Tony Hawk. New Tony Hawk that everybody's been clamoring for. Exclusive, right? They go back into that and they just pull out all the old IP and say, yeah, no problem. We tried.
StarCraft on PC and console.
StarCraft on PC. Yep, on console day one. Hey, look, we're rebuilding World of Warcraft. We're rebuilding that. Guess what? It's coming to console.
Warcraft 4. Let's go.
Only on Xbox, right? All of that stuff now replaces what the yearly Call of Duty you might be missing in that, right? And then your Game Pass looks even better. Yeah. Everybody still knows you get the Call of Duty on day one. Maybe they keep 2 studios on it. They do the Playground Forza thing, and they have 2 studios on it, and you get one, every other year.
Well, I would say that Warzone would be better if they weren't having to also make a yearly Call of Duty game, because they could just focus on making Warzone as good as possible.
Yep. Or my final option in all of this, right, is that they honor this. They go into this regulatory commission. Their talk is all surrounding Call of Duty. Sony, they've calmed Sony's fears down. No, we're going to get you Call of Duty every year. They come out of it. The regulatory commission says you have to make official concessions. Call of Duty has to be multi-plat. Cool. Guess what? Free to play multiplayer. There it is. Go for it. It's on all platforms. Free to play multiplayer, just like Halo Infinite. It's on all platforms. Not going to cost a dime. Call of Duty's there.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, by the way, we're going to have a campaign that's going to be exclusive, right? Or something like that. Or we're going to just have the campaign. It's going to cost, $60, and we'll put that on Sony, and it'll be free day one in game.
Or all maps come first to Xbox.
Right. Exactly. So I think there's a lot of room within this language, no matter which way they have to go. I think right now, though, the big thing with this was to signal to everybody, hey, we're not going to be aggressive with this. We're not going to use this to bully. We are simply seeing an opportunity to help clean up a company that was cancerous from the inside out, that was dying, that has some of the most beloved IP in the gaming industry. We feel we are the best stewards for this company, and we are going to turn this company around. But all of our partners out here, including Sony, Nintendo, look, don't you worry. We're going to keep doing business as is with the Call of Duty. We know everybody's worried about that. We're not going to take that away from you guys. And I think that that's kind of the position that they're going to take right now, to make sure that as this investigation starts going, that when they pull all this stuff out, and again, this will all be, I guarantee it, Phil's tweet's going to be in part of that package. There's probably a book, probably the size of 3 Bibles tall. It's going to be in there, and they're not going to have anything a part of that investigation where they can say, well, look, this right here seems like you're trying to do something kind of shady. It sounds like you might be trying to pull, Call of Duty. They're not going to have any of that talk. It's just going to be like, no, listen to our quotes. Phil said it himself. We're not pulling Call of Duty. Our intent is to honor all contracts. Our intent is for the Call of Duty to continue on PlayStation as is. We're not going to do any of that nonsense. So I think that's what this what this specific tweet was about here. Everybody's going to run with their own narrative. Again, the tweet has so much gray area and so many read between the line moments that, yes, no matter what side, if you are on one of the fanboy side, you can read into it how you want to read it and just say, oh, Phil's saying this, Phil's saying this. But I think at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to the investigation, what decisions have to be made, if there are concessions that have to be given. If they do wind up in that position where the regulatory commission is like, nah, you got to give concessions, then Phil can say, fine, Call of Duty will be multi-plat.
You're right. And like worst case scenario for them, if that's the last concession they have to make.
Yes.
It's not a big deal, really. You know what I mean?
It's not.
Because
no, it's not.
For people that want PlayStation to fail, right? And we're going to take it from them so they can go under and stuff. That's not what this is about, right?
Right.
I understand, at PlayStation doing all the exclusivity deals and all that kind of stuff, and this is a chance to get back at them for that. Get our stuff on Xbox and all this stuff, right? I get some of that, right? But at the same point, that stuff for me doesn't add any value as a PlayStation consumer, right? I would be able to play those games on PlayStation anyway. I don't like or care if they get taken away from Xbox as a PlayStation consumer, right? It's so taking something away from PlayStation as an Xbox consumer, I don't get excited about taking something away from somebody, but we can have a lot of great discussions about what speculating about what's going to happen for business sense wise, right? The thing is,
a chess move.
Bottom
Again,
line,
we're nobody. We're nobodies, right? We're gamers, right? But we love to play armchair CEO, just like we love to play armchair GMs over sports teams, just like we like to do all that stuff. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Again, we're not giving you insider information. We're not doing anything. We're just speculating. It's fun because the chess moves are interesting.
So I'm not rooting. Take it away from PlayStation.
Yeah.
Just like I'm not rooting for PlayStation to take this away from Xbox. Just because they did it doesn't mean I would necessarily want to do it to them, right?
Yeah, like I said, I would be cutthroat though.
Right, I understand. Here's the bottom line though, right? If you're a Game Pass subscriber, you just won.
That's the main thing.
That's the main thing, right?
That's the main thing. And it doesn't matter what happens.
If you don't think, if it's multi-plat, and if you think that this, regardless, is not going to hurt PlayStation, if that's what you want to have happen, is you want PlayStation to feel it, you still took away the marketing rights in the future for Call of Duty, at least. You're still having the better value for Call of Duty on Xbox, getting Call of Duty day one on Game Pass for all of the future of Call of Duty. You're probably going to have exclusive content, all this stuff. So as Call of Duty was seen as one of the PlayStation brands over the last decade or so, it's going to be seen definitely as an Xbox brand. And every time they boot up Call of Duty on a PlayStation, what are they going to see? They're going to see Xbox. Whenever you see ads on TV in the future, you're going to see Xbox, Game Pass, day one, right? It is going to be cemented in the minds of everybody that this is an Xbox franchise. If this deal goes through.
Absolutely.
Right?
How many times have we seen it? Anything that goes into Game Pass is automatically associated with Xbox.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's multiple.
100%. Yep. Rainbow Six Extraction. Good example. Shout out to Topaz Girl, 170. Thank you for the $5 super chat with no words. Let me know if you wanted to say something with that, but I appreciate the donation very much. So, as well as becoming a speculator, thank you for becoming.
Thank you very much,
channel member, Topaz Girl. Appreciate you very much. All right, so like this is not us saying, hey, we want to screw over PlayStation gamers, right? And that's what Phil doesn't want that either, right?
No.
He wants PlayStation and Nintendo to have a place in the industry, right? He sees that as the lesser of all evils as far as out there with competition and a good thing for gaming, right? And I think that it depends with his language on some of what PlayStation's moves are going to be in the future. If they're going to double down and go hard back at Xbox for this and start making more exclusive third-party deals, they go out and buy some other publishers, make those part of Spartacus and all this stuff, then it's game on. You know what I mean? This is going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, and one of my final points to this is, too, when you look at it from a chess move, from a business move, they are taking away from Sony because Sony's not going to be able to cut deals with Activision Blizzard for Spartacus. Yeah. And I was going to bring that up, Mav, right? We know Spartacus is coming. And now we know the pressure's on Sony to really push Spartacus and really try to cement its value so that they can gain as many subscribers as possible, as quickly as possible, to try to catch up for Game Pass. Again, we've said it a million times. Neither Mav nor I will think or know that they can go 1-for-1 with Game Pass. They can't, okay? It's just money-wise, they can't. Content-wise, they can't. But what they can still do is Sony has fantastic relationships. And one of those relationships is with Activision. They've had the marketing duty for Call of Duty now, what, 4 years, 5 years, Mav? How long has it been?
Oh, it's longer
than that.
Yeah, it's been
longer than that. Yeah, it goes back. Yeah, since it goes back before Xbox One, right?
Yeah, like towards the end of the PS3 generation, early PS4.
Yeah. So they had this marketing right. Well, guess what? That marketing deal, no, that doesn't happen anymore. They don't get the marketing rights anymore. So Xbox, as a chess move, as a business move, even if it stays multi-plat, they've taken away some of Sony's ability to cut any type of, well, they've taken away all of it, but what I'm saying is, in the overall grand scheme of things, they've taken away one of Sony's big partners, right? They've taken away one of their good relationships that they could cut deals with to bring games into Spartacus day one. What if this never went down? And what if Sony announces Spartacus and then they follow that up around E3 time with, by the way, our great friends over at Activision, Call of Duty, that's going to be dropping into day one into whatever Spartacus's name is, that PS Now plus, right? Yeah. That's going to drop day and date, right? That's going to now drop day and date into that service.
Yeah.
That would be gigantic, right? That would be huge boost for their service, because you know that deal would include language that said you can't drop it into Game Pass for 3 years, 100%. Right? We know that language is already being worked on by Sony and some of their other contracts they've done. So they already, in a lot of ways, made the biggest move with this acquisition by taking that option away from Sony, which is a big, gigantic one. And now they've taken, again, even if it's multi-plat, even if they agree that Call of Duty will stay multi-plat, they now have the advantage for their subscription service by saying, yeah, you can go buy it over there for $70. You can get a day and date and Game Pass and pay your monthly fee along with 500 other games because, oh, by the way, we just dropped a catalog of 50 Activision Blizzard games in there as well.
And when you go to the store and you see a Series S on sale for $250 at the time or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And it's like, that's impulse buy territory, right? That's like, okay, you had a little bit bigger check this Friday. You know, I see a Series S standing right there. I don't have to spend $70 on Call of Duty. Right. Which there's another thing. Here's another aspect that could be a win. Okay. Because Xbox and Microsoft have spoken numerous times how they're not really fans of like $70 game model. Right.
Yep.
In the future, which right now Activision games are $70. After this deal goes through, it could be back down to 60.
Correct.
So even if you're not a Game Pass subscriber, even if you're whatever, like, hey, you may be getting your games back at $60 from Activision. I want to read this again because I had missed it earlier. So again, Topaz Girl 170, appreciate that $5 super chat. And you did make a comment that I had missed, so I apologize for that very much. You had said subscribed a few days ago and joined today. Well, thank you again for that. She says, I appreciate y'all discussing this like grown-ups. No fanboy crap, straight talk. Yes, the industry is full of fanboy crap. You know, we'll make jokes at times. You know what I mean? But as far as
casual jokes, but
as far as like having rational discussions about things and not getting all up in your feelings, right? Like it's something that we can do fairly well here. So I appreciate that again.
Yeah, it's something that Mav and I focus on, right? You're going to hear that from a lot of these good channels, and that's what, again, Fun Speculation is all about. That yes, obviously he's got Xbox Ultimate, it's Xbox, friendly, of course, but at the end of the day, we don't do the fanboy nonsense. We both hate the fanboy garbage that's out there. There's too much of it in the community. This is a time to be celebrating gaming because it is the golden age of gaming. And when I say gaming, I mean all of it. PC, Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, mobile, does not matter. We as gamers are in the best time.
No gatekeeping here.
That we've ever seen in history. No gatekeeping whatsoever. We love to talk about the industry as a whole. That's why Mav and I joined this, or decided to create this show, was to talk about the industry as a whole. Mav has plenty of Xbox shows that he does. I have my own Xbox shows that I do. I've got Living Split Screen, which is non-console centric. It's just fun to talk about the industry. And we can both look at it from a neutral standpoint, from the satellite or RTS view, as my brother from another steel likes to say. So appreciate that comment for sure, Topaz Girl. Appreciate it a lot, because that means we are coming across the way we want to come across, and I appreciate that a lot.
Yep, 100%.
Yep, absolutely.
Man,
Look,
we're
Mav,
dude. What else we got?
We
on
did
this?
it.
Like, is that it?
Well, I mean, is there anything else? I mean, again, just take the whole thing as take apart the whole thing. I mean, is there anything else that we haven't touched on, or that you haven't touched on personally, that you want to get down to?
Man, there's like there's a thing with this. There's like,
there's a ton.
So freaking much that you could have. If any one of these little things that's part of this, you could have a whole 2 or 3 hour show over just any individual little part, right?
Well, okay. Well, let's talk about. Well, okay. If you want to keep going a little bit here, let's go. Let's go this route.
You, man, I'm good either.
Let's go this. No. That's totally cool. No. You know me. I'm down. I'm down for talking game. Again, I got 8 shows this week. For God's sakes, man. I'm down for talking. I love talking. I'd like to hear, now that you've had some time.
Yeah.
Right? You've had some time to think about this a little bit. Again, it's only 2 days out, but a little bit. Let's talk about the Sony side of things. Okay. Let's talk about the Sony side of things real quick. Directly, again, we've talked about how this does impact them. Call of Duty and again, we're just talking about Call of Duty because Call of Duty is the biggest, right? We could talk about how, Crash Bandicoot was Sony's mascot and now it's owned by Xbox, right? We could talk about that, but really, those little hits are not, are nowhere near the scope of what a Call of Duty does to Sony, right? So let's talk about this. We obviously know that this strengthens, as we were just talking about, no matter what happens, even if it remains multi-plat, this deal is for the long term. Phil said it. This is not a short-term game. This is a long-term game. They're talking about metaverse. They're talking about creating this whole synergy between all these IP. They've got this grand vision. Again, Microsoft has a whole group of people whose sole job is to think about the future, what that looks like in every one of the industries that they're a part of. They pay these people big money. We do that to a lesser degree here for free by going to Speculation Town. Okay. We try to do that here, but they pay people. So this is a long term.
But Ubisoft was listening to us.
Yeah. Ubisoft was listening to us because they stole our Splinter Cell idea.
Yeah.
Again, all we want is a credit. Xbox Ultimate. That's all it needs to say.
Yeah.
That's all it needs to say. Anyways, but let's talk about Sony directly. Now that you kind of had some days, because we talked about this a little bit on other shows, but now that you had some days, what do you think? Does this, obviously it affects Sony. Obviously Sony is worried. Obviously, if Phil called Sony to discuss things, there's some concern. $20 billion drop in your stock value is a concern. Okay. That's going to cause some meetings. All right. That's going to have some people 2 a.m. in the morning going, hey, we need to get in the boardroom and talk about this. Okay. So do you think that this does now push Sony with what we think is a very soon announcement of Spartacus, whatever they're going to call their subscription service, to absolutely, even if they don't want to, even if they don't have the ability to match 1-for-1, but do they have to throw everything in the kitchen sink at Spartacus to make it as big a service as possible? Or do you see some other way that they counter? I mean, they can't counter they can counter very big. People do get that wrong. They could raise the capital to make a major publishing purchase. Okay. They could do it. It would create debt, but Sony's got the brand to do it. All right. They do have the ability to make a move. Do you think they go some other way? Do they make some moves? Do they throw the kitchen sink at Spartacus? What do you think they've now do to kind of answer back or to try to get themselves back into the news again?
So I think one thing is Xbox is going to be watching whatever Sony does here as a response, and what they may do in the future may be dependent on what Sony's actions are in this next 12 months, right? 13 months, 14 months, 15 months, however long it takes. And I think that Sony can go one of two directions, or they can go one of three directions. Right, they can maintain their current model and invest more with third-party deals and exclusives, and like KOTOR, like Final Fantasies, Persona, things like that. They could go further and deeper into that, or they could ease off of it a bit, because they're scared of losing that Call of Duty pie, right? So that's two scenarios. The third is, like you said, go all in on Spartacus. Whatever Spartacus is, which was, as Jim Ryan said, they had been working on their answer to Game Pass, which everybody is like, oh, Sony can't do anything like that. Well, maybe they can't do it to the extent, but they can do a different model, a different version. All it has to do is provide a high amount of value. Right? A high amount of value for the price. Sony has IP. Sony has a lot of IP. They have a lot of backwards compatibility stuff. They have a long history. They have a lot of great talented developers. They're making acquisitions left and right also to help bolster the infrastructure required to make all this stuff possible for Spartacus and for cross-platform play, for PC releases, for remakes, for remasters, all of these things. They've been heavily investing in these last couple of years, right? Making very strategic, smart business moves. Okay. So my money would be going all in on the Spartacus route. Now, does that mean day one PlayStation games? I don't know. If I were them, I would be having a lot of back and forth discussions with all of your teams and meetings about pros and cons of every aspect, right? And you're going to go with the one that you figure out has the most pros. And where the future of gaming is going, can they do it? Can they build a platform that can rival Game Pass? The only way of doing that, possibly, is day one games. Now, first party, third party, I don't know. There's lots of third party companies that are been willing to make those concessions and put games in Game Pass day one now. PlayStation has a lot of partners. They have a lot of muscle within the gaming industry as far as making deals with their partners. And also, they have that PS4 user base, which is strong. And which they've just announced that they're continuing development on more PS4s, right? So if you have this user base where you have this a massive amount of players, it seems like going in a route that direction, you have a larger pool to pull from to help build something quicker, right? As opposed to Xbox, when they started building this, they were struggling, right? They were at square zero, pretty much. Like they only had 5 studios. They had just started Game Pass. They didn't have their games in day one, right? At the time, right? Could you imagine like Sony if they just jumped in full force and did this? How many people subscribe immediately?
Correct.
It would be such a huge jump start. It's interesting because they only have like you do the math on it, right? I say, oh, but they're going to lose so many sales on these games, right? They have 3 massive games this year, right? 3 massive games, right? They got Gran Turismo, they got Horizon Forbidden West, and they got God of War Ragnarok, right? If they all release this year. Now, do the math on all those sales and stuff that they're going to get for those games. But if you were to get a 20 million subscriber base at $15 for a year, we did the math. I did the math earlier. Xbox for 25 million subscribers at $15 per subscriber for a year is like $4.5 billion. That doesn't include any microtransactions. That doesn't include any external game sales. That doesn't include any of the first-party games that sell at all. That's just pure revenue from the subscription service, right? So that money speaks, and it's reoccurring. I think they see this, and they see the potential to be on multiple platforms, right? To be on PC more, to be on all this stuff, and I think they're starting to think bigger than the box. Because the box is selling well, but if all you are is a devices company and your focus is only on selling a box, you're limited to your reach. You're limiting your reach to only being able to sell stuff within that ecosystem that's in that box.
And we know it's capped. It's been capped.
Yes. So if you're looking to go like the 3 billion gamers or whatever, that you can't do that by selling only consoles and having your content only come out on the console. But then you can't also expect to reach that many gamers having $70 games only, and that's the only way to access them, because there's a lot of people that just are never going to spend that kind of money, right? So a more approachable, accessible way to access the content, it makes sense across the board. Now, my answer from PlayStation would be to be like, okay, well, shit. We better get in this now, because if we don't, a few years from now, it may be too little too late. And this is another move in that direction from Xbox with this acquisition of Activision. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sony went and doubled down and made a big splash with one of their partners that they've had a strong relationship with. Who knows which one? But either a closer ties, partnership deals, or potential acquisition down the line. I think they want to bolster themselves to be able to bolster a potential move in the future for Spartacus, instead of this traditional model that they've been saying they were a part of for a long time. But now it seems like every move they're making is stepping away from that, right? So I think this is going to increase rapidly the rate at which they do this. So that's what I would do if I was them. However, I don't know. Sony, I can never predict what Sony's going to do. I can never predict what Nintendo's going to do because they say one thing and then do another, right? So who knows what's going to happen? But that for me would make the best sense. So I want to get to a couple of things real quick as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
CMBR, appreciate the very generous $5 super chat. You rock, man. He said, just a quick thanks for all the content and community support. It's appreciated, dude. You rock as well, and appreciate you doing all your amazing work out there with your articles and all that stuff, man. Very intelligent on the show the other night too, man. I just loved having you on there. It's very helpful. TK Chillin, hey dude, thank you for joining the Speculators, bro. Very generous. I appreciate
it. Absolutely.
And also Gamer by Choice with an amazing $10 super chat. Thank you, sir. Says, if I were Sony, I would be looking at the franchises that are money makers to get exclusive content, the counter COD, Fortnite, Roblox, etc., saying we are the place to play your favorite games. You saying maybe Sony make a big deal with Epic somehow, or who knows, right? There's potentials out there for anything. Right now, anything can happen in the gaming space. This is why we have all these speculation talks and all this stuff. So we go to Speculation Town because nothing is impossible right now. Like if we were to say Activision Blizzard was going to be acquired by Microsoft a month ago, 2 months ago, nobody would take it seriously. It'd just be a fun discussion, right? So, in fact, we got a lot of flack.
They would say, "Stop talking about acquisitions."
Yes, that's what. Man. You know how many people said stop talking about acquisitions this past year? Whenever we bring up an acquisition topic, a rumor, and the answer is always like, "It's not about." We said this so many times. It's not about if. It's about when and who, right?
Yep.
Because it's when the CEO of Microsoft, the president, or whatever Satya Nadella's actual official title is, says we're not done, that means they're not done, right? So there was reason to speculate on all this stuff. Now, we didn't get this Activision Blizzard thing right, but we had fun talking about way more feasible possibilities than this one, right? And people thought we were crazy, I was like, why you guys got to cool it on this acquisition talk. You got to stop speculating about this stuff. Like, what's the point? Because it was fun. And then when something like this happens, it's like, wow, I wish we would have speculated on that one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Holy cow. But I don't know, man. What do you think PlayStation needs to do?
Okay. Been thinking about this a lot, obviously. This is a big thing. So I put out a tweet the other morning and I said that this is the best time for gamers because competition is so good for everybody.
Yeah.
And it truly does. It brings out the best. And Sony is king. Okay. Sony's the leader. They're still a market leader. Okay. Despite all the news.
Tencent, but
well, second to Tencent. Yeah, but I'm talking about between Sony.
Yeah, platforms.
They're the leader. Okay. They have been. Microsoft stumbled, gave them the win last year or last generation handily. And they did a lot of things right. They've been doing a lot of things right, despite all the news being tilted towards Xbox recently over the past year and a half now. They are still that position, and they're not going to abdicate that throne without a fight. Okay. They're not going to give up the throne without a fight. This is Sony. They believe that they are in the best position they have ever been in, despite what we may say here or elsewhere, as far as, what Xbox has got cooking looks to be pretty overwhelming at this point. Sony's not going to live in that world. They're going to put up a fight, and they've got aces up their sleeves. Make no mistake about it. Again, there has been little to no Sony insider information that has come true, but I will tell you this, that there's been plenty of people, even on the Xbox side, talking about all the deals over the past 2 years that Sony has been cutting with third and second parties. Okay. They've been spending a lot of money that we're not aware of because no announcements have been made. Now, some of them have come public. We've heard of some of these smaller startup studios that Sony is funding projects with. We've started to see a little bit of that. So number one, there's the current word on the street is they're going to have a state of play next month, towards the beginning of the month. Okay. I expect them to come with their aces, whatever aces they got up their sleeves, they're going to start rolling out. Remember that E3 years and years ago that's so famous is one of the best E3s of all time?
Yeah.
Where they sold the hope of the future?
Yes, that was so crazy. They pretty much came out with like a bucket list check marks of all the gamers'
correct,
like most wanted things.
Yeah, exactly. And I expect that to happen again.
Yep.
Okay. Except this time around, they've added support studios. They added 6 last year.
Yep.
They've added support studios to start ramping up as far as time frame goes. That selling of hope isn't going to be the 4 or 5 years away that it was at the time. They're going to cut that time frame down to 2 to 3 years. Okay. So they're going to be able to, again, they're not going to be able to match content. Okay. They're not going to be able to do that from first party studios right now as Xbox, as the two stand, Xbox and Sony. But what they are going to be able to do is, right. No, especially not now. No. But what they are going to be able to do is go ahead and say, okay, all those great games, those 90 plus Metacritics, those award winning games that you come to expect from us aren't going to take the 5 years to make anymore. We're going to start coming out with them on a regular basis, a more regular basis. Okay. So they can have a couple each year. Okay. Yeah. They could have 2 to 3 each year. Okay. That's great. That's fantastic. If they keep the quality where it's been at, that's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to see what they got. And then they're going to have some surprises, these aces that I'm talking about. Okay. We've heard the rumblings, Silent Hills, the Metal Gear remakes. Okay. We've heard of SOCOM coming back. We know for a fact, Mav, that Sony's going to come back into the multiplayer space, especially now, right? They're going to come back into the multiplayer space. They were already planning on it because with a service like Game Pass, Spartacus, they're going to need engagement numbers. And you do that through games as a service and multiplayer games that continue on, that don't end like a single player experience does. So they're going to come back into that realm, right? We've seen other hints of other titles coming back from their back catalog. Now, there is another rumor going around that they just re-upped the copyright on Siphon Filter.
Yeah.
There's been a rumor that a studio has been working on a Splinter Cell type game out there. That's Siphon Filter. I can almost guarantee.
Let's get it done, man.
Let's get it done, man. I'd be so happy if Siphon Filter came back. So this is what they're going to do there, right? So they're going to start there. As far as Spartacus goes, I think that their original plans of Spartacus probably got accelerated at this point.
Right.
So whatever time frame they kind of had, like, hey, we've got, X amount of months to get to this point, X amount of years to get this point. I think they accelerated all that. So I think they are going to throw more at Spartacus than they originally planned on. I'm still not sold on every game, first party, day and date.
You think some of them potentially? Like a Gran Turismo?
Some of them potentially. A Gran Turismo. That was I threw that out over a month ago. I said Gran Turismo could be the first one that jumps into Spartacus day and date. But I do think time frame wise, as far as time from when the game launches to when it drops in Spartacus, will be shortened up.
But I don't think they'll announce that ahead of time, because then they would lose out on their sales. What they'll do is they'll surprise people with it.
They're going to surprise people, but they'll have one out the gates.
Yep.
They're going to have one to sell, because I do believe that with everything that's going on now in the industry, that they do have to take the advantage they do have, which is their current base. They're going to have to get as many of those people subscribe to their new service as quickly as possible and lock them into that ecosystem. They're going to want, and they have the potential, map to catch Xbox very quickly if they do it right.
Yeah, they do.
They really do.
They got to change their messaging, though.
They got to change their messaging. They got to change their tone. They have to provide value in that service. We've talked about it. I think that they move to offer movies and music very quickly in Spartacus. Mm-hmm. I believe that there's a lot of this. The other thing is, I think that their price point that they were going to bring Spartacus in at, I think they now have to, I thought they would probably bring it in around 20. I think that they have to probably match Game Pass right now and go 15. I think that's a real thing. I think they're going to 15, even at 15, if you're just looking at games wise, it's going to be really lopsided to Game Pass. But I think if you throw other content in there, you throw bonuses in there, you get a couple big third-party deals to drop in there very quickly out the gates, along with one of your first party titles to drop in there out the gate, I think that's enough that Sony fans worldwide will go, okay, I'll buy into this. Let's see where this goes. I'll buy in. Let's subscribe. Let's see where this goes. Next thing, backwards compatibility. I think that patent, that Cerny patent that people found that was recently filed in December, I think there's something to that. I'm not going to dismiss that right now. A lot of people dismissed that and said, who knows what that is. I think they've been working extra hard on getting backwards compatibility figured out. I think that they see the result.
Too big of a great library to give up on it.
They have too big of a library. And they've seen what it's done for Xbox, not just in the ability to say, hey, you can play your backwards compatible titles, but to be able to offer those as an additional sale on your service is huge. And it's big money for Xbox. I just told you, man.
Yeah, how many did you just buy?
Xbox has a huge backwards compatibility backwards compatibility sale going on right now in the store. If nobody knows, go look. There are deals. $5, $2, 50 cents, $3. There are some great deals in there on some of the best backwards compatibility. Fear 2's in there. I mean, all the stuff, all the Max Paynes are in there. Everything's in there that you want. I just picked up, I think, what did I say? 13 titles.
Something like that.
I think backwards compatibility. It's a big selling point. And I think that they have been working on that. So I think that patent is something that if it's not ready right away, I think it's going to be close enough that they can say, hey, and coming soon, backwards compatibility. Now, whether that means PS3, PS2, and PS1, we'll see. The PS3 is the hardest one. We know that, the cell processor, but I think they've been working on it, because if they can announce that, huge deal, right? If you join our service, you got backwards compatibility, that's value. Something Microsoft just offers, right? But at the end of the day, again, for Sony fans, it doesn't matter. Sony just needs to create the illusion that they're giving them a ton of value, because they will buy in right away the more that they can show. And then finally, I think they do make a big purchase this year. I really do. I think they make a splash purchase this year. How big? I don't think it's Take-Two big. I don't think they go that route. I think that they solidify one of their partners, Square Enix, being most likely. But even they could go outside of Square just because of how strong that relationship is already. They really don't need to do that, but it would be an attention getter. It would be something that they would add to their stable. Like all this talk of, hey, don't expect Final Fantasy on Xbox, don't, that would all just go away and instantly be, you're not getting Final Fantasy on Xbox. You got to buy a PlayStation.
That's the one thing that it is against like that, because that's already the talk, right? So it's like, So that's like, what would they be gaining at that point?
Right. It would just be definitive.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
It would just be 100% definitive. Even if everybody knew it kind of was the deal anyways, we always did get those titles here and there. And we have had some Final Fantasies, a lot of them drop in the Game Pass with deal. So it would just definitively say, you want Final Fantasy, you want Dragon Quest, you want Square Enix RPGs, you got to come over and buy a PlayStation, right? It would be good. But if they're not going to do that, they definitely could make a move on a Capcom. They could definitely make a move somewhere, something like that would really be, it wouldn't cost what Xbox just spent, obviously, on Activision Blizzard. It would be more in the Zenimax range, but it would make a big impact. Right. It would make a big impact, and they could pull that off. So I think that they do make at least one big purchase this year, along with some more smaller purchases. They're going to beef up their studios, not with the biggest studios, but with studios that can help support all these game makers, and maybe a couple smaller ones that can produce, have the potential to produce the next big game. They don't have to be big right now. They're going to build them up over time kind of deals. And I think they're going to invest in that as well. So I think that's the approach they take. I think it's going to be multi-headed, but they're in a great position to do it. They still have the advantage right now. If they lose that advantage is when they get into a bad spot. But I think for the time being, if they get their subscription service up and running and they get a big portion of their base to jump in and buy into that monthly service, that again, people have been listening to the wrong folks for too long about the business side of things and about how subscriptions aren't sustainable. And I know Sony themselves came out and said it's not sustainable. But let me tell you something. If they don't have to put every one of their titles in their day and date, and they can still get a player base of around 30 to 40 to 50 million subscribing to that service, that is a huge amount of monthly money coming in.
Yeah.
And Sony would be really invigorated when
Yeah.
that happened. And that could change how they approach everything going forward if they see that return on investment. Their ROI would be much better than what Xbox's is, because Xbox has invested a lot because they can, right? They don't care, right? Microsoft does not care what it costs to grow the service. They are doing whatever's necessary. So they're putting, they're spending money left and right to get games in there. If Sony doesn't have to go to that level and they can still get a nice big base really quickly, look, they're going to be confident, and they're going to come out swinging. They're going to do some things differently than they did before. So again, competition is good, folks. This is why we want it. Whatever you think of these companies, that's cool. Again, I've got my own personal taste. Every generation has been different for me with who I choose out the gates. I wind up owning them all, except for Nintendo. Everybody knows that. But I wind up buying them both at the end of the day, but I choose one first. But again, no matter what you think of these companies, their business practices, these are chess moves. And again, when it comes down to it, when you got a company that was seemingly dying, was seemingly sinking, and all of a sudden it turns around and goes all in like this, and it's as big and as powerful as Microsoft Corp is, that makes even the king sit up and take notice. Like I said, they're not going to just give up the throne, kneel down before Xbox and say, you guys win. That's not going to happen. They're going to come back swinging, which is great for their customers, which is great for their future customers, which is great for us, because Xbox has to continue to do things to make sure that they are gaining ground on the current leader. And so all of it comes together. Nintendo's doing their own thing. Nintendo's going to continue to Nintendo, but whatever. It's fine. It's whatever. It's fine. Whatever. You and I both want a real console from Nintendo. We're probably never going to see it, but whatever. They're doing their thing. But again, at the end of the day, all of this just says how healthy this industry is right now. All of this consolidation is just part of the ebb and flow. There's nothing to worry about right now.
Yep.
And again, if we get to a point where AAA development becomes too big and too costly and too risky for anyone outside of the major corps, guess what will happen? We're going to just see a little bit of a pullback from that, right? We're going to see some smaller experiences. We're going to see like Outer Worlds experiences like Obsidian. We're going to see that type of experience happen more than these big 500-hour games that everybody's freaking out about, like Dying Light 2, right? We'll stop seeing those type of games. We'll see smaller experiences. You know who's going to fill in the backside? Double A's, the indie titles. They all now have the ability, because of things like the Unreal Engine and Unity and all this accessibility to all this tech now. And Xbox is pushing a lot of this with the cloud design too. Don't forget about the cloud development's coming. They're allowing these smaller developers to show up and make high production quality type games, AAA type quality games with a very small cost to these smaller developers. So we're going to see that come together, get closer together as this generation goes on too as well. But don't worry, people got to stop freaking out. The gaming industry is so healthy right now. It's flush with money. Yes, things can change quickly, but you know what? There'll just be an adjustment period. It always happens. We've been through this before, and it'll happen again. So right now, just enjoy the ride. Buckle up. There's a lot going on for everybody. The news is going to continue to flow. Like I said, if the state of play happens next month, let me tell you, Sony's coming. They're going to have some big announcements. Again, every insider has been saying that for about the past 2 years, and it hasn't happened. So everybody says there's no real Sony insider. I'm just telling you from the outside looking in, Sony's been here before. Sony will come out swinging. Okay, they're going to come out with their big guns. They're going to drop some big announcements that everybody's going to go, oh my God.
You know what, Pong? The last state of play they did announce your most anticipated game.
Yes, we are OFK.
Yep.
Game of the year if it shows up this year. They'll probably be delayed though. They're putting a lot of work into it, and
I've heard
again, I wanted to get
all the development teams for all the indie developers out there working on this one title. You know.
Yep.
It's
I just want them to get it right. So if they need to delay it a year,
it's the meta of indie games.
Oh man, great talk though. Ooh,
Yeah,
man,
dude.
almost 3 hours, brother. Did this?
Yep.
There's a lot. There's even more. I mean, we could see here all night. Honestly, you could break this down.
We could have a 12-hour tour, if we wanted to. Easily.
PM in the AM, everybody.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Have you got anything else to add? You got anything else?
No, man. I just think it's going to be a crazy time in between now and when this closes. All the pieces, because there's going to be like so much to talk about, so many things happen, so many pieces to discuss that we haven't even barely touched on in this episode, right?
Right.
I mean, you got battle.net stuff, you got the PC, more of the PC side, you got more of the mobile side, you got that means just it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to have all those discussions. For me, like I'm excited about the future of this and what it's gonna potentially mean for Activision Blizzard more than anything else, right?
Oh yeah, man.
Because for me, that's like, hey, the people again that said like, there's no reason as a gamer to be excited unless you're an investor. Screw you, come on.
There's
a lot of reasons to be excited for this, because you got to be like a selfish person or like such a fanboy of just a piece of plastic to not see the positive about this from many different angles and have some excitement out there about the possibilities that are great for gamers in general, right? So I'm super pumped about what this could mean. I hope everything moves forward smoothly and we get this done because it's what's best for the Activision and Blizzard teams.
Correct.
Right. And what's best for the Activision and Blizzard teams is also what's best for us. Right.
Correct.
So, man, this was a blast, dude. Hey, chat.
This was.
You guys rock. Thank you again so much for all the support and being here. You can check this show out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the places as well. And Pong.
Yep.
Where can everybody find you?
Absolutely. Let's do this. A couple things first, real quick. Yep. Again, just keep in the back of your head, folks, that this is the golden age of gaming, and just enjoy the ride. Don't let anybody else pull down your excitement. Okay. Don't let anybody pull down your excitement. We're going to see some crazy things this generation. We already have, right? We just talked about one of the probably the most historic acquisition of all time in gaming, to be argued. I mean, there's a couple in there you could throw in there, but this one is up there. This is the way it's going to be. And again, if the entertainment industry as a whole comes into this picture, which it already started, remember, just keep it in the back of your head. It's out there. Again, I wouldn't be, not to continue my points on Sony, would not shock me a deal between Sony and Disney, a partnership there of some degree, whether it's for all the Marvel IP. Content is king, IP is king right now. There's going to be a lot of such little conversations going on. So keep that in the back of your head. And then I'll end this with a quote from Seamus Blackley, one of the original creators. If you guys have watched the Power On document, Seamus Blackley, he put out a tweet when this deal went down the other day that I kind of, again, watch the Power On document. You'll understand how it hits, right? And so Seamus put out this tweet. He says, "It's terrifically, incredibly, head-meltingly weird to see little baby Xbox eat up Activision. Some still at Activision will recall a young Seamus showing up claiming things about a new game console, only to be essentially mocked. I wonder if today they remember that. I do."
Wow.
Bro, that's... Again, powerful stuff from a guy who was at the ground level when Xbox jumped into this crazy game industry as a little nobody, even though Microsoft was already huge, as a little nobody who didn't know anything, and people like some people at Activision that Seamus is saying here mocked and thought that they would fail at. And here we are today, right? Talking about this kind of acquisition. It really is quite unbelievable when you think about it. But I thought that was a great quote. So anyway, before my outro, again, I've been talking about this for the past couple weeks here. I just want to give a shout out to everybody in this community who heard anything about Spooky Sprocket and
Yes.
gave thoughts, gave prayers, gave energy to. If you have not heard, you can go follow his Twitter account. His aunt is handling, his family's handling his Twitter account for the time being, but she has been giving updates. You can go follow Trinity Warrior, his fiance. She's been giving updates. Look, Spooky came out of his coma. But I just want to thank everybody in this community who took a moment, any kind of moment, just to think about him. Because in these times, that little stuff, whether you believe it or not, that energy, I'm a big believer in energy, does help. Yeah. And they are so thankful for everybody in this community, the support, the big heartedness, the absolute love and care that comes out of so many in this community is unbelievable to me and always astonishes me. So thank you all for doing that. It's a long road to recovery. Horrendous ordeal that he's gone through, that has happened to them. All 4 people that attack, or all 4 people involved in the attack, have been caught. They are in jail, waiting, obviously, the next step. But again, just wanted to give a shout out to this community and thank you, and continue to keep him in your prayers and thoughts, because he does have a long road ahead. Hopefully we'll be getting some new updates soon, but he is awake. Again, early signs are that, he's doing okay. There's just a long road ahead for him. So thank you all for that. Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter, the drill there. Obviously tomorrow night, I'm going to be on 2 shows, Xbox Infinite. I forget whose channel it is. Is it Risk It for the Biscuits channel?
I think it's Risk Umbra's.
Is it Umbra's? Eternal Umbra's?
It may be.
Okay.
Sure. I'm sorry.
Yeah, watch my Twitter. I already put out a tweet. I'll put out another one tomorrow. I'm going to be on that show right before Xbox Ultimate. Obviously, right back here again on Xbox Ultimate Friday nights. That show, the Xbox Infinite show, starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be back. I think it's 6 p.m. Eastern. And then I'll be back over here on Xbox Ultimate 9 p.m. Eastern. It might be 7 p.m. Eastern, for Xbox Infinite, and then 9 p.m. Eastern for Xbox Ultimate. That's tomorrow night. Saturday starts off with Living Split Screen. That's me and my brother from another Steel, Rain, where we wake you up in the morning. We already go 3+ hours. This week we got a lot to say. Steel and I got some ranting to do. We got some stuff to talk about with this whole acquisition thing. There's a lot, like Mav and I covered a lot of it tonight, but there's a lot more to it. Steel and I are going to get down and dirty with some of the specific things that are being said out there that are ridiculous. Look, we got a lot. So come join us. Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word. That's our channel. 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, Saturday morning. Set your alarms. We'll wake you up. Like Steel says, we're going to bring it live, raw, and uncut. Come join us. We got a great community we're building over there. It's a fun time. It's just like this 2-man show. We just go back and forth. We include the chat. It's a great time. And then Saturday night, the Shop Podcast. That's PTK Blam's channel. Please join us. End your Saturday night right. We have a great conversation. PTK Blam, Centurion, great friend over here, brother. They're all my brothers, but Fuzzy Belvedere obviously is on Fun Speculation Show as well on FSP. Come join us on Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. Then next Tuesday starts all over again. Xbox Factor Podcast. Double Barrel Gaming is the channel. Mr. Boomstick is the man. So join us there. Xbox Factor. Mav, Archimedes, 3-bit if he ever becomes available again and he doesn't work himself to death. Who knows what's going to happen there, but he's usually there if he can be, but he hasn't been forever. So we'll see. But anyways, myself and now Mr. Joanna Dark, who is in the chat. Shout out to you, brother. He has joined the crew over there. Xbox Factor Podcast, Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Otherwise, Mav, before I give us the outro, tell everybody about what you got going on, brother, and then we'll get everybody out.
Right on, dude. I want to also make a correction. It was Risk It for the Biscuits channel.
It was Risk It for the Biscuits channel.
I put a link in the chat for anybody that wants to check that out. It's a newer channel, as well as you need to put a link to Living Split Screen in there as well. But there's there's a link to Living Split Screen in the description as well, guys, on Pong's name. Gamer by Choice had hit us with a $2 super chat, and I almost forgot to read it. Apologize for that. Very appreciative of the $2 super chat. Gamer by Choice, thank you. It says, make a console war game that would make money. LOL. Yeah, a console war game. Yeah. Maybe like Plants vs Zombies style, like Xbox versus PlayStation. Robots versus horsemen. Let's go. Yeah. That'd be fun. But yeah, guys. Again, like Pong said, appreciate all the support out there for Spooky, our friend. Came to know him last year playing games. Invited him on our show. The Xbox Ultimate was the first podcast he had done, and he shortly after that started streaming on Twitch, and he started his own podcast. And Pong and I both have had the opportunity of being on his show. He's also been a great supporter of all the content creators out there in the Xbox community. He's a great, awesome dude, and I'm so happy that he has awoken from his coma. And I'm hoping at the end of all of this, it'll just be an amazing story, because what he's had to come through to get to this point is incredible. But again, everybody in the chat, thank you so much. All the new channel members, greatly appreciate it. You help.
We had a lot of new
us,
people tonight too.
Yeah,
each and every week. Awesome. Yeah,
you help us grow this channel. You know, it helps ease the burden of bringing out so much content on here, and you know the work that goes into it. So appreciate everybody with all of that as well. And anybody that just ever listens on an audio, if whether you view, hit the like button, share it out. Everybody, you're super appreciated. But yeah, tomorrow is Xbox Ultimate Podcast, and we had a special edition of Xbox Ultimate on Tuesday, which was crazy, right? It was a great show. That went for like 3 hours and 45 minutes, I think. It was insane.
It was a big show. We had a lot of people.
We had all Dirt, little Ray,
Steel,
Crazy Louie was on there. Plus we had a few Jasper, Psychonauts,
Psycho. Yep.
This is a crazy show. I recommend anybody, if you want more thoughts about the Activision Blizzard thing, go back and watch the Xbox Ultimate Special Edition we had on Tuesday. But we got to get a regular edition of Xbox Ultimate in this week. So it will be back tomorrow night, Friday night, Xbox Ultimate Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time. We're going to be coming at you with lots of more discussion about other facets of this, get some other takes from some people you haven't heard from yet on this. It's going to be a blast. Saturday, Fun Speculation Podcast with Gaming Key and Fuzzy Belvedere. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Eastern for that show, 5 p.m. Central. And that's with Gaming Key and Fuzzy Belvedere, like I said. And they're awesome guys. We're going to talk about it from all perspectives. Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, lots of talk on there about all platforms. And then we'll be back next week again with the regular slate of shows. So appreciate it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. Get us out of here, Pong.
Episode 11, PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM is out of here. Look, golden age of gaming. Play what you love what you play. Thank you all for the continuous support and love. Appreciate every single one of you. Get out there and enjoy some gaming, and we will see you next week. Talk to you soon. Later, all.
Bye.